the first installment of that way.
Good morning from Hometown Cable. What's going on here? I'm Bob Venn again, and we're at the Alice T. Minor Colonial Collection. And if you've wondered what this building is when you've gone through Chazy, you people who are not from the northern tier up here, this is the Minor Alice T. Minor Collection, a museum. And this is the first of what's going to be several in-depth studies of what's in this building and the story of the museum. And if you haven't been here, I invite you to do this. The first time I went in a museum, let me tell you that, I was coming back from jury duty. It was just after noon, and I didn't have to go back to work with the rule we had at Customs. And I saw this, and I had never been here. And I stopped in, and I was about an hour and a half going around with the curator then. And I went immediately home. I was so impressed. Told my wife, we were back here the next day with my wife and my daughter Barbara. And since then, I've been here several times. And this has been on television before up in the northern tier. There has been a tour through here, but it's been a little quicker than what we had planned to do. We wanted something really in-depth. And we'll be going inside. We're going to meet Mrs. Lucille Czarnetsky. She is the curator here, and she just loves this. She lives for this every day, and you're going to enjoy her. So please stay with us and plan to see the other parts we'll be doing in the foreseeable future. We're still outside. I want to show you these nice fall colors, all the vines on this beautiful house, the white shutters, the nice trees to the right, the metal fence. It just is a perfect setting, and it's located right on the same property as the Chazy Central Rural School. And it's been here for a number of years. We're going to find that out when we go inside. And please do plan on making a trip here. It's open every month except January. I know in January we'll get more of that information on the inside. Okay, it's open to the public Tuesdays and Saturday. Good morning.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
Very well, Mrs. Czarnetsky. We'll be right in here.
Yes.
All right, this is the front door. We just came in, and she locked the door behind us because you don't open till 10. Is
That's
that right?
correct.
And it's a little after 9.
That's correct.
Okay, now right away, brass handle lock. Is this an original lock?
Yes, it's a solid brass key.
Oh, okay. Solid brass key, the brass handle. All right, and then you need new windows here. Your windows are cracked or something?
No, that's your bullseye pane, Redford glass. It was made. They were manufactured in Redford, New York, and there was only a 20-year period they made those from 1831 to 1851.
Does all Redford have that?
No, absolutely not. I have some pieces in the ballroom I will put. I also have the end of the day, the canes.
End of the day?
End of the day. When they got through working at the end of the day, the men would put all their leavings together. They could make whatever they wanted to, and that belonged to them.
You can't carry it forward till the next day. You got to either throw it away or make something.
That's correct. And
This was
very conservative.
This was intentional then.
That's correct.
Is there a reason for that? It's very nice, but is there a?
Well, no, not a reason, but it's beautiful to just
It
try
sure
to
is. Yes. Yeah. You have that anywhere else in the house?
Yes, on the side entrance.
Okay.
That's the only two places.
All right. Anything else in here that you want to show me?
Oh, I think this is lovely. This is your game table. This was made in 1750, and all the furniture you see in here today is made by hand. That's why it lasted. And they used 2 woods when they made their furniture for contrast. This is beautiful.
Yes.
Mahogany and
Now this would tip back and open
and the
up.
felt inside is just like brand new.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
I see it says Emily on here.
That's your Pennsylvania Dutch slipware.
Okay, now it doesn't have to do with Emily Castine,
No,
who we
no, it
know
doesn't.
is very active here also.
No, it-
All right. The mirror?
Their mirror is Victorian.
Okay.
These are called the Queen. Your candlesticks are your Queen of Diamonds. There's also the King of Diamonds. These are the Queen of Diamonds.
What's the difference between a king and a queen of diamonds? Do you know?
They're made a little different.
Just a little bit different, huh?
And
That's the Declaration
that's the Declaration of Independence. And in back of you is a barometer which he purchased from Isaac Platt.
Okay.
He purchased a lot of
all right.
things
Who
from
is?
the
Tell us
Platt.
who Isaac Platt is. I think I know. He's from Plattsburgh.
Plattsburgh, that's correct.
Named after Isaac Platt, right?
No,
Platt.
Plattsburgh was named after Zephaniah. She bought the dining room table from him.
Oh yes. So let me ask you, some of this furniture then, is not from Chazy
Oh,
originally.
it's from all over.
Over, but it's about the period that we're
Period
talking about.
of the early American, your Victorian period. And she purchased these things from 1911 to 1924, and her foresight is unbelievable.
That's we're talking about Alice
T. Miner was a collector. She was responsible. When the house was restored, she put her whole collection in here, and they never lived here. I'd like to share that with people,
Yep,
too.
okay. It's a beautiful piece, isn't it?
Yes.
Sure is. All right.
Now we go to the parlor.
Okay. We're in the dining room in the front of the house, and we've decided to sit down a few minutes because I want to find out who this nice lady is. I've known Mrs. Czarnetsky for 20 years plus through her husband and so forth, and we'd like to know a little bit about Lucille Czarnetsky. Tell me where you're from and your background.
My background, I was born in Chicago. I was born in Elmhurst, Illinois. I went to school there, and I got my history degree from the university there. And my husband decided to move and make a change. In 1955, we moved up.
Whoa! You didn't even tell me about your life before you met this man of yours. So you grew up around Chicago.
Chicago, yes.
All right.
Uh-huh.
And then you met Mr. Czarnetsky?
Yes,
What was
I
your
met
maiden
him.
name?
My name was Weigrefe, W-E-G-R-E-F-E. I'm German background.
Uh-huh.
I used to speak the Low German and the High German, but I have not spoken it in years. I don't speak it fluently.
Okay. Now, somewhere along the way, you met Mr. Czarnetsky.
Yeah,
Edward?
I met him at a horse show in Chicago.
Oh,
He had two horses in the show, and I was with another woman, and we were sitting in a restaurant. We were having a hamburger, and he walks in, and he was with another fellow. He says, "You know that girl over there? I'm going to marry that girl." And he did.
He did.
About 2 years later.
All right. So now you became Mr. Czarnetsky. And then what happened along the way?
Well, my husband was with Wilson and Company for many years, and he decided that he wanted to make a change. We moved up here in 1955, and he was responsible for all the buildings at the Miner Institute. It was all farmland when we came here, and he was a director there.
Okay, now there are some people maybe who don't know who the Miner Institute is. I can't imagine, but this will be shown around Saranac, Plattsburgh, and so forth. And that's the college that
That's
they made
correct.
here.
That was started. Mr. Miner left a trust for the institute, like Mrs. Miner left a trust for this museum.
Right.
And he died in 1930, and they still, they weren't part of Plattsburgh State. Mr. Miner wanted everyone to get 1 year college free, and they did, and now they're part of Plattsburgh State.
Okay, that's that college out there. Probably
That's right,
room for
agricultural
50 or
school.
less students.
Oh, less students, yes, about 20.
Yeah,
20,
mostly
25.
agriculture. They
That's
were
right,
very much in
agriculture.
favor of. All right, and then he was the director there.
That's correct.
For a number
20
of years.
20 years. Oh, yes. We lived in Chatelawn at the guest
Yep.
house there, and then we lived where Dr. Randy lived.
All right, now I met Dr. Czarnetsky because of a horse show. I was
He
selling
used to have
trophies back in 1968, 69, and 70, and I heard he had a horse show, so I went and see him, and he was very, very fussy. Wow, was he fussy? And he said he'd had some purchases before, and he wanted to be absolutely sure. He ordered them real early, and he was the only person I ever put a silver horse on a brass trophy or a gold trophy. I said, now, make sure you put that on the order because I don't usually put silver and gold together. But he was very fussy, but very, very good customer.
Well, he started this horse show, and he had him every year until he passed away. We
Right.
had him in August. And he also had a very important thing. They had a foal for a door prize. And we used to have 3,000 people that come.
I know you had a very nice
And
horse
we had
show
a
here.
barbecue
Yeah.
that day. It was very, very, very successful.
Now he was what was his background? Yeah.
Well, he got his PhD at the University of Berkeley in California in organic chemistry and philosophy, and he was from a family of 9 children. He had it pretty rough when he went to college, and he had his degree before I met him.
Okay, and then after he left the college, he was traveling for a feed company, right?
Oh, he was also director of the International Stock Food at Waverly, and he had a big project in Saudi Arabia, biggest agricultural project. I lived with him for 4 months or 6 months there. There's no place for a woman in Saudi Arabia. I came back, and he would travel back and forth.
Okay, now, there came a time that you decided you'd like to get into, this was before Mr. Czarnetsky passed away, you decided you'd like to be curator here,
Yeah.
correct?
I really wasn't too interested in it, but Mr. Fitzpatrick asked me one day, he says, Lou, would you like to have this position? I says, yes, Jim, I would love it, and then I did.
Now, he was on the board, right, of the minor.
Yes, oh yes, he was president of the foundation and
Okay.
president of this museum.
Okay, at that time you were living just south of Chazy,
That's
right?
right, we built a home up here about 2 miles out of Chazy.
That's where Bob Dwyer lives
That's
now, right?
correct.
Yes, Bob Dwyer living up here on Route 9.
And which Mr. Fitzpatrick is it?
Yeah, Jim, right?
Yeah,
because
he's back.
later, I was going to
James
ask her that,
Fitzpatrick.
but later she said that Jim said. All right, everybody knows Jim Fitzpatrick in Plattsburgh, a well-known and Assemblyman for many years.
Oh,
and,
he had charisma.
yeah, he
was
could have
a
gone
beautiful-
on for more if he wanted.
Yes,
in
yes, he
politics.
was a beautiful person.
All right, so you came here about when then? What year? You recall?
1975.
It's 16 years.
I started my 17th year the 1st of July, and they just gave me another 3-year contract.
Terrific. And you have an apartment upstairs. You
That's
live
correct.
right in
It's
the
on the
building,
second
right?
floor
All right.
in the back, and Mr. Miner added all those rooms when he restored it from 1919 to 1924.
Okay. The building then he didn't build it. It's been here for many, many years.
Yes, it
You
was
know what
here-
was it at home originally?
1824, Mr. Miner purchased the home from Ebenezer Scott. He was a merchant in his village.
And then it was a private home.
Yes,
All right. And then they decided to make a museum.
that's right, for her collection, because she had started this in 1911, and he purchased the home in 1919.
So they had this items at their home here at the Heart's Delight Farm?
All different, all over, she put, all these things are made in all over the world.
But I mean, when she started in 1911 till
Oh, yes.
1919,
Oh, yes.
she
She
had...
had stored in Harmony Hall. There was a place where they used to have parties, and this is where she stored these things.
Harmony Hall was a great big building where
Oh,
they
yeah.
used to...
Christmas parties and entertained a lot.
Yep, it's up in the Heart's Delight Farm out on the 191, I think
That's
it is.
correct,
And that was torn down in the 50s or 60s to, again, to save taxes, and we're probably 50 or more fireplaces like we have right here. Look at this beautiful fire.
Dutch Delft,
That's a Dutch
Delft. and-
Delft, all right,
That's
right
correct.
there. They had all kinds of fireplaces, and those are some of the things that were saved. Some of the windows from the old Harmony Hall were saved. So she decided they bought the place in 1919, and they immediately started a museum?
No, 1924.
24.
And she brought culture to this little village.
Okay.
And Mr. Miner had the stonemasons imported from Italy, and the plasters were from England. You go through this home, you don't see a crack in the walls or anything.
The stone masons came over
From Italy, huh?
to do the work, huh?
And they got $1 a day working on this home.
All right, now, it was operated over the years, and was it open as much previous years as it is now?
No, it hasn't. I opened it up.
You opened it up
There was
more.
no activities. We had a concert. We had a coffee at Christmas time. We have a woman comes in and plays the harp in the parlor, Mrs. Tannenbaum from Plattsburgh.
Oh, so it's not just tours during the day, huh?
No, I have a lot of receptions in the ballroom. I have a reception every year, graduation afternoon from 2 to 4. They honor the 50-year graduates from Chazy Central.
Is that right?
That's
Oh,
correct.
yes,
And that's very successful, and it's so beautiful. All these people haven't seen each other. It's a wonderful affair.
I know you had a party here a year and a half ago for Harold and Barbara
Hubert,
Jubert when he was left as being supervisor in your town. And the party was here. They had on a Sunday afternoon. I came in, took a few pictures. They were shown on Hometown Cable. All right, and then, so what hours are you open now?
I'm open every day except Sundays and Mondays from 10 to 4. And the museum is open from the 1st of February to December 31st.
Okay, so it's just January.
January I
all
have
right.
to close.
Is there a charge to come in as such?
Now we have a contribution. Whatever they
But
want.
there's no charge as such,
no
right?
No way, no.
What about school kids or school classes?
Oh,
Do you
we
get
have
them
so
in?
many school classes coming. Now we make it an all-day affair. We just started this about 3 years ago. The students come here for an hour and a half, and then we open up the one-room schoolhouse Mr. Miner attended, and we have a teacher there. She wears the long dresses and a button shoes, and they're there and she has a ruler. And we're there about for an hour, and then they go to the tour center. They have their lunch, and they tour the farm after lunch.
Well, now,
They
when
make
you,
a whole day. It's a field day for them.
okay, now you mentioned they got a ruler. She's not measuring with that ruler, is she? What is she
the
doing with
children-
that ruler?
Oh, the children come back. She's strict. She's got a ruler.
She can, oh yeah, she can handle that ruler.
slaps her pants.
All right. And so you were inviting anybody out there who were classes to contact
Oh,
you if they're
yes.
interested? What grades are we talking about?
Till about from the 2nd grade to 4th grade, sometimes
Okay.
5th grade. And,
Okay.
and we have so many schools that Mrs. Morgan from your school in Champlain couldn't get a date because it was too late. I said if she wants to come this following year, she has to call by 1st of April to get a date for June. The first
Is
2
that
weeks
right?
in June.
That's great that they, now, all right, now if a person or a family want to come in and see you now, do they have to make an appointment?
No, they don't have to. I'm usually here, but I want to be sure because I'm here every day, like I
All
say.
right.
Unless if I
And the tour, you don't have to start a tour every 15 minutes or anything like that, or every
no,
hour?
The tour lasts usually an hour and a half. But if
Okay.
they only have an hour time, I love to have them see every room. I don't spend as much time in each room, so they.
All right, if you're taking a tour right now, the door is locked because
That's
you don't
correct.
just leave it here, and you're up on the 2nd floor and some other people come in. Do they join you at that
That's
point?
correct.
Okay.
I let them in.
They
and
ring the bell, they would join you at
and
that
they
point?
sign the guest book, and we start. And when the other group leave, I show them the balance of the whole rooms they haven't
Okay.
seen, so they get to see the whole
Yeah.
place.
You like doing this?
Oh, I just love it. I'm only happy when I'm in this museum.
Well, you know something? You and I have something in common.
What is that?
Well, just think now. Did you have an honor recently?
Oh, yes. Last year.
We were what? Citizens of the Year. Yes,
That's
I was
right.
several years ago, and Mrs. Czarnetsky just a year ago, and that's where we met. First of all, Dr. Randy, who was in charge here at the.
Yes,
and you have lost Dr. Randy at
Yes.
45 years of age.
I
and
know, sad.
he was a funny man. He was. He was
He's
a good sense
wonderful.
of humor.
Wasn't he an after good?
He was very, very
dinner
good. I
speaker?
didn't know him
Oh,
very
yes.
much, so yes. All right. How many people do you have working for you? How many gardeners do you have to keep this great yard like this?
I do all this work. I have a girl that comes in on a Wednesday. I call her my girl Friday, but she comes on Wednesday. That's all the help I have.
But no, I mean outside.
I don't have anyone else. I do all the outside
You cut the
work.
grass, you keep the
Oh,
trees
yes.
trimmed, you do all that yourself?
I do, yes.
This is an
The only thing
amazing
I
lady
can-
right here.
I don't trim the cedar trees. They're too tall. Andy LaFountain does it now.
Okay, yeah. Did Dr. Czarnetsky make you cut the grass? That's where you learned it?
No, I didn't. No one makes me cut the grass. If they would buy me a riding lawnmower, I would leave tomorrow because I want to get the exercise.
I think
love
that
it.
Dr. Randy mentioned that when
Oh,
you
I
had
know
your
he-
party about that, and he mentioned it was on Hometown Cable, by the way. He did mention.
That's right. And also think he used to kid me. You know that picture they took it with the cow in the.
Yes,
Well, that
yes.
was on the cover of the journal of the journal this year in March.
Okay, we'll be right back. We're talking with Mrs. Lucille Czarnetsky. We're at the Minor Institute, not Minor Institute, the Minor Museum, the Alice T. Minor
Colonial
Museum on the
Collection.
Colonial Collection on the Main Street in Chazy, New York. You're watching Hometown Cables, and it's called What's Going On Here, and we're delightfully glad to meet Mrs. Czarnetsky, and we're here for in-depth of the museum, something that the museum should have in their records, something you should have in your home afterward, and we hope you enjoy this. And if you don't, you won't see it all today, but we'll be back another time, and keep watching for the remainder of what we start today.
It's wonderful.
What we're going to do in this segment is to jump around a little bit and get the new things that have been added to the museum since they last did a show here on a condensed version. And we're going to start here. And what do we call this room, Mrs.
I
Czarnetsky?
call this the weaving room. The people in olden days did all their handicrafts in here. And
Okay.
they had one room for that because they
All
did a lot
right.
of handicrafts.
Yes. All right. It's a big room. They did a lot of. It's a great big room, big house. All right. Now this is something new here. You said.
Yes, it is. It's a bedspread made out of store string. It's your popcorn design. And this little girl was 9 years old. She was born in Chazy, and she started this, and it took her 4 years. She was 13 years old when she finished it.
She made this at 9 to 13 years old.
4-year project. Can you imagine?
Very, very heavy.
Yes, it is. It's lovely. And she lived to be 87 years old.
And her name?
It was the Olina Bow.
Oh, Olina Blow, and she was from Chazy.
From Chazy, born in Chazy and passed away in Chazy.
Was it ever used at her home? I guess before, and she gave this
to the museum, but 6 months ago.
Isn't this great?
Well,
And you keep it right here, isn't
that's
it?
correct, and I love to show this to fourth graders because they're about that same age when she started this, and I asked them, they're not doing anything creative now. It's sad.
What do
have
they do with their time?
the television, Nintendo.
They're watching us, right?
That's
Playing-
right.
Yeah,
Isn't
they're
that
watching us. Get off this television and go make something,
That's
right? All right. All right. What are we looking at right here? This is a sideboard?
No, this is called they didn't have linen closets in the olden days.
Okay.
It's a linen chest.
Oh,
These. Here's a piano cover. Look, your gold medal thread, and here we have a Japanese runner. Look at this.
can you see this, Calvin, all right?
Oh, isn't it beautiful?
Now, these pull out?
Yes, these pulled out. And these are all your summer and winter patterns. They have white on one side.
What's the difference between a summer and a winter pattern?
The summer patterns are white, and the winter patterns are dark navy.
Oh, I'm wearing a winter pattern
That's
today,
correct,
right?
that's correct.
I'm well dressed this morning. I'm okay then, right? All right. Now, where was this kept? In a room like this? Was this?
Yes, that's right. They didn't have linen closet. They didn't have clothes closet in
No, right,
olden
most
years
of the-
either.
exactly.
We have Mr. Miner's one in the museum also.
Okay.
And this
And
is a red and white one. Very seldom you saw a red and white coverlet because the red dyes were short. This was done in 1835.
And this is called a what again? This
Linen chest.
Linen chest. I never thought of a chest as being an upright like this. I always think of a old cedar chest type
Right,
thing,
that's
like they
right.
used to use. All right, we'll go into anything else new in this room?
Oh, well, I like to point out 3 samples
Okay.
we had restored in Salem, Massachusetts.
All right, we're going to see some samples. Oh,
These are
all right.
done by young children also.
And we got some reflections in here, Calvin, you may find. All right.
This little girl was 9 years old when she did this, and she ends it up to let you know what care my mama took of me. I think that's lovely. See the year?
1797,
That's
September
correct.
13th.
And here we have the Lord's Prayer. This is beautiful. We also had this restored.
That's 1818. Now, this is the Lord's Prayer, and that was 1736. Lead us not into temptation, except we give,
That's the whole Lord's Prayer.
again by a young person, right?
That's correct. But the reason we had these restored, they're starting to deteriorate, and by having them restored, they're very expensive, but in the long run, you're better off. Look at how this was done.
Oh, I see. Okay, this has all been sealed.
Sealed, that's correct.
Very lovely. Was this common that people made these in the homes?
Well, the children had to do these because they didn't have schools. They were taught their numbers and their ABCs. The mother usually taught them in the home.
That is the ABCs up here.
That's correct.
That's
They
the
always
alphabet right
usually
up at the
have them
top.
on all of them.
Yeah, you can see up here. You can see the alphabet, the numbers, and that's what they used
They
instead
didn't
of
have schools.
didn't have a slate, didn't have a.
They didn't have anything.
All right,
And this one was done by a 7-year-old.
all right. This
7-year-old.
a 7-year-old.
Sure.
Sandra Dean's work finished November the 20th in the 7th year of her age.
Beautiful.
Sure is. And that wasn't a pattern for her to follow either.
No.
Oh, there was nothing.
The mother
And these are called a sample?
sampler. Yes, we're going to have 4 more taken out of here the 2nd of November, and we're also going to have the one with the light we were speaking about them done by Anna Weaver.
Yes.
Because that's starting to show
All right.
deterioration.
You're going to have them taken out and then,
They bring them back again.
like
and
this, get them
restore.
redone. Okay. Who does that? That done in the area?
Salem, Massachusetts.
Oh, you
they go
mentioned
to.
that. Okay. Anything else new in here that we should see? Or okay. We're in the ballroom. You call this the ballroom on the 3rd floor.
That's correct.
And we're in the front of the building, and we're looking at some beautiful, all I know about it is this beautiful cranberry glass. And first thing I should mention is donated by Beatrice Church. Who was Beatrice Church?
Beatrice Church passed away last October. She was a wife of Walter Church Sr. And this is their whole life collection of cranberry glass. And she had it in her will that she'd come here, and it did. Isn't it lovely?
Gorgeous.
It's made with 14 karat gold, you know.
I mean, now, the goal is where?
Well, the gold makes it a pink red color. Did you
I
notice?
see.
Look at that fan. It's not a red color. That gold makes it that way.
All right. Now, Mrs. Walter Church was the old Plattsburgh Church Oil Company.
That's correct.
Plattsburgh Motor Service.
That's
when I was
correct.
back in college, they were, and they used to live in Chazy.
That's correct. They lived in fact, they lived at the guest house. They
Yes.
bought it from the foundation. The foundation bought it back again, that home.
Okay, that's the one. The guest house is when you go toward the farm, you turn right in from Chazy, you turn right to the farm, you turn left instead, and that's the guest house today, and that's the home that they own. we knew Bobby then, and some of the others of the churches. All right, and you've had this how long then?
Since last October.
It's beautiful.
Beautiful.
Beautiful. Now, what did you have in there before?
I had
You
different
didn't have
things
empty-
I placed around, and there's some things not put out yet.
Okay.
This was in there too, the fingerprint.
All right. Beautiful. And I guess we all are indebted to the churches for
yes,
their
they were beautiful people.
for
There's
their
a lot of
donation
beautiful
here.
people that done
Yes,
this
now
work.
there are other people like this, maybe who have beautiful things like this that might want to donate something to the museum. Is that possible?
Why,
what would
of
they
course,
do?
and it'll be cherished by many people for many years to come, and by a lot of people, because I have about 3,500 people a year that tour the museum.
Now you're talking glass mainly.
Anything.
Anything, long as it's with the period we're
Period, that
talking
period
about,
that
right?
we have
And it's in
here.
good condition,
condition,
because
that's correct.
most of the things in here are in immaculate
Of course.
immaculate condition. And this is the ballroom right here, and this is where you have your teas and things like that,
everything else,
right?
and the reception for the graduates, the
We're all
honor
up here,
50-year
yeah.
graduates.
I hope you move this off when the graduates come, so that
But all these people that come through here are culture. I never had one piece taken from here, and I've been here almost, it'll be 17 years.
That's great. People appreciate nice
Oh,
things
yes, of course.
when they're being displayed and talked about by a nice lady like yourself.
Thank you.
Oh, Doctor, be glad I said that.
Oh, of course you would.
Now, you have a couple sons, right?
I have one son left.
One son, all right. And he is where, Pennsylvania?
He lives right out of Washington, D.C. in Annandale, Virginia, and he has his own jewelry store.
Okay,
And he also
good
does
jewelry
appraising there.
Okay, we remember the...
And he raises finch birds for a hobby.
Okay, if you people who played soccer back in the 50s, or early 60s, you remember that rough halfback, that big blonde halfback? That was the son of this lady right here, and he was a rough halfback, I'll tell you. He was kind of rough out on the floor, but he was also one of those great Chazy teams.
That's sure.
All
And they
right.
won the
Okay, anything else new in here that we have not seen before?
The tea set, I don't think you have...
Well, let's just make a point of that while we're right here.
Correct. This tea set was made in Germany. And this little girl was 3 years old. Mr. Miner gave it to her for a Christmas present. And she's over 70 or 70 years old, and she donates it back to the museum, and she played with it all her childhood, and there's not a crack or a... You know why? Because she only had a tea set.
Yes.
She treasured that.
She was from Chazy then.
She still lives in Chazy.
How did he know her?
Well, her mother used to bake bread for the guest house, Hearts Delight.
All
This
right.
is Edith Waithman.
Well, now that you've mentioned her age, should we still mention her name? Oh, yes, of course.
Well,
Helen Waitman Long, and we know Helen. Did she used to work?
Sure.
She worked at Montgomery Ward? Of
for many
course,
years.
yes.
She retired from there.
And she wasn't selling that kind of thing when she was at Montgomery Ward,
No
was
way.
she?
She got this for a gift.
And she donated it back to the museum. What a
Now,
great thing.
I get duck bumps when I speak about
It
that.
says right here, this set was given to Helen Waitman Long when she was 3 years old. It was a gift from Mr. W. Miner, and now she donated it to the museum. It's a circa 1923 period.
Isn't that beautiful?
It sure is.
And these Dresden teacups and plates were given to the miners for a wedding gift, and they've never been used. Dresden.
It's an awful lot of glass given to people for wedding gifts that never get
That's
used,
right,
huh?
That's right.
All right, this was as a wedding gift, and here it is.
1895. And then we have Majolica platters at the bottom shelf.
Okay, well, we'll get into a more in-depth in here later, but we just wanted you to see.
Wonderful.
And we're going to go into the hallway because there's two pictures I'd like to have you see, and that's why we're here. When you come upstairs from the second to the third floor, immediately to your left are these two large, gorgeous pictures, with whom I assume are...
Mr. and Mrs. Miner.
Exactly.
And in the background of his portrait is the hospital that he built, and that's where he passed away.
That's the Physicians Hospital in Plattsburgh. He passed away in 1930.
30. He was
30.
68 years. He decided he needed a tonsillectomy, and he died on the operating
A
table.
simple operation, just a tonsillectomy, in the hospital that he built.
That's correct.
And William Henry Minor, and
Alice
Trainer Minor. That's Alice T.
And she lived to be 87. She died in 1950.
Yeah, she used to be at the school. They had
yes.
their programs every week, and she always
She used to
came
go to
down.
New York City and had the costumes made that they had to play.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Now, I understand that she was Canadian.
That's correct.
Right?
She was born on the other side of Toronto, Godrich, Ontario. She was from a family of 12 children. Her mother died when she was 7 years old. Just think what a childhood that girl had.
Yes. And from a family of 12, you said. All right, then anyway, Mr. Minor, we'll talk more about Mr. Minor, but then we're going to be closing off this segment, just a little introduction to what we're going to be seeing in depth at the Alice T. Minor Museum, the Minor Museum right in the heart, lovely downtown Chazy, as Calvin always says on TV, beautiful downtown Chazy. And we're going to close off this segment. You've been watching What's Going On Here. I'm Bob Ben, but stay tuned because something else is going to come on after this. This is a short segment. And again, Mrs. Lucille Czarnetsky,
That's
thank
correct.
you very much for this.
I enjoyed having you.
Well, we're going to be talking more here, one or two more segments.
To it.
Okay. Thank you very, very much. Welcome to What's Going On again. I'm Bob Then. This is the second segment on the Alice T. Minor Museum. And we're doing this a little bit different than Mrs. Czarnetsky usually does. She's your curator, Mrs. Lucille Czarnetsky. And this is the room she usually ends her tour at. But we're going to start this second segment here because we're looking at the man himself. William Minor. What are we looking at here, Mrs. Czarnetsky?
That's William H. Minor.
Right. And why is this in this frame, and what is it?
This is his whole funeral services are in there. The freshmen of the school, the funeral was from the school. The freshmen donated a poem, the sophomores, the juniors, and the seniors. And Mrs. Viola White from Moore's donated this, but I restored the frame.
Okay, so she gave this to the museum.
That's correct.
Mrs. Viola White, I think that's Henry's wife, of the senior citizen building fame and the unofficial mayor of the community of Moore's. All right, now this is something that you've had it put in this here. It's forever, right?
That's correct.
And this is the final chapter of H. Minor, but we're going to find out more about his life. We're in a room now that is, you've got his memoirs, right, in this room?
Everything, I call this Mr. Minor's memento room because we have his armoire.
Okay, this takes precedent here over everything in the room. Now, what is this? What do you do with this? This is
we didn't have closets in olden days.
All right. And this was in the bedroom. He kept his shirts and so forth in here.
And we got our wedding hat.
Okay. Yeah, let's see it. Can you see it in here?
We were married in 1895. She was a June bride. She wore a brown dress, and this is her wedding hat.
Now, isn't this just like at home? The man has an armoire, has a dresser, and then the wife puts her hat in it. That's just the way it is with living, right?
That's right.
All right. And now this is what, it wasn't a desk. What would you keep in here normally?
Well, other things you could keep, and on the side you hung your clothes.
Okay.
Mr. Minor's lounging jacket. This is silk velvet, and he died in 1930. It looks like brand new.
It sure does.
The quality.
Yep.
That's quality.
Yep. And
they
there.
don't have as much clothes as people do now either.
Well, they didn't have to change 3 or 4 times a day then, I guess.
No, that's right.
Big drawer in the bottom, I guess, for your shoes or whatever.
Stockings or whatever you
And
had.
these would lock, and there's another one just like that on the other side. A beautiful piece of furniture, and that is huge.
That's right.
That's got to be fun bringing up the stairs. All right, and what else do we have in here? We see. I assume that he was a Mason, Masonic order.
His name in a piece of iron board when he was 15 years old, and this is the home where he was brought.
When he was 15, you said?
1877. That was
1877. W.H. Minor. Was he living up here then?
Yes, he was. He was living in Chazy. He was brought up by his Aunt Hulda and Uncle John, and this is the home that he was brought up.
Now, where is that home today?
It is not there anymore.
Okay.
This is the place where the Heartsealite Cottage was on the same property.
Okay. Now he was an orphan. His parents had died.
His parents had died.
And he came to live with his uncle.
Aunt Hulda and Uncle John. That's correct.
Okay. And he was raised here in Chazy.
That's correct.
And that's why he was always
WHM.
Is he the baby or who is he?
Is he in this picture?
he's
do you know?
not in the
Not in that
picture,
picture.
it's
Huh? All right, no. And again, W.H. Minor, 1909.
Okay, what's that other picture?
And that's the back of this.
That's the back of this house right here,
Mhm.
and that's where the cottage is today.
That's correct.
Guest cottage.
Yes. We
Okay.
also have Mr. Minor's tools. When he left here, he didn't have money for college. He went to worked in a machine shop. I have all his tools in here, and he had his name on every one. His name.
All right, here. Gotta read it this way. W.H. Minor on his hammer. All right, and then the other tools that he had here, the little tiny Monkey Ridge, WWW, Chicago, New York. And there is February 1897.
And then we got his tools. He received a degree in drafting, University of Minnesota. These are his drafting tools. But now we're going to look at the house, what it looked like before he restored it.
Okay.
It was not beautiful. He made it beautiful.
So this has been removed, obviously.
That's correct.
This
But
is
the
the
ballroom
north
was
side.
up
That's
there.
the front right here.
That's correct.
And then, was there more to it behind, or was that added later?
That was all added from 1919 to 1924.
Okay. This is the
Same house,
house,
but
but
a
from
different
from
version.
behind it, right?
That's correct.
You notice the old car?
That's correct.
We're getting at different angles here because of the reflections of the light. And this is the house as it is today,
Yes, it is. That's
Mrs. Czarnetsky,
correct.
right here, right?
And the reason he wanted this house for her collection, because of the first centralized school he built and gave it to this village in 1916. And
Okay.
the school had 2 swimming pools, one for boys and one for
Okay.
girls.
Right here you could see the school, so he wanted this property was right before. Now this has been taken off back here. That's been removed, and a new wing where the kitchen is and where the our room, with the activity room where we
That's
were,
correct.
is back there now. And
And
then,
this is the school that he gave to this village in 1916. It was Spanish architect, and it had 2 swimming pools, one for boys.
2 gymnasiums.
That's right. He was way ahead of his time.
And there were plaques. It was the first centralized school in the state of New York.
That's correct.
Now, on this table are 4 books that are very prominent in the North Country. First of all, this Chazy Central Rural School Yearbook, which are probably 2,000 or 3,000 of these around. All the graduates get one, even till today. I think they still get one, and it has all of the school all laid out inside, all of the dimensions and all the pictures of all the hallways. This particular one was a memorial when she passed away in 1950. I have one of these at home, the articles, and then there's one on Minor. I don't have this one. This is on William H. Minor when he passed away in 1930 at 68 years of age.
Inside of those?
Can you look in just inside of that? Just it's all. You'll notice that this paper, it's all double sheets. It's all handmade paper, and you'll see. I'm just showing you here that. Let me just hold this up here. See, that's doubled over, and there's Mr. Minor, and there's a lining between each paper, tribute by his pastor, and it's like this throughout, and the same with Mrs. Minor, the article out of the Plattsburgh paper. I think there's an editorial. This
is his patent.
That was his patent. That's his patent that he
That's
had,
correct.
which is the railroad couplings.
That's correct. They never had a spring in that. There was a lot of damage to fruit and vegetables, and this prevented that, and that was his patent.
Oh, okay, that was the patent, and it brought all this money to the miner, and as a result of that, all these nice buildings and all of the history in Chazy, New York. And this is the building, as we say, as it is today. Now, is that there too?
That's right. The lookout tower.
I didn't notice that.
Oh, yeah,
Okay,
you
I'll
have
have
to
to
go on
watch.
the
I'll
south
have
side
to
of the
watch
house
that.
to see that.
All right. Is there a significance to?
This is the Last Supper.
Right, but it's something that they had.
No, it was at the Minor Institute office, and they
okay.
They didn't want it, so I brought it over here and put an inventory number. And this was his favorite chair.
Now this hasn't kept as well as his jacket, right? His lounging jacket.
I guess
this
he really
leather.
used it.
Well, that's what we're supposed to do, right?
That's right.
And you're not touching it. You're not getting
No.
it redone. That's because that was the way.
That's the way it makes it beautiful.
Yes, and it's
Now
got
this
the-
is Aunt Hulda and Uncle John. They brought up Mr. Minor, and that's Mr. Minor standing there.
This is Mr. Minor here,
That's
and that's
correct.
Uncle John and.
Aunt Hulda.
All right.
And this upper one is Mrs. Minor, and those three sisters of hers never married. They're in a mausoleum with them here in a Riverside Cemetery, and so is their 14-day-old boy they had.
Mrs. Minor up above, Alice, and this is her three sisters. Remember, they were a family of 12. Now they had a son. They had a son.
14 days old.
14 days, and that's the only children they ever had.
That's right.
No one to carry on.
She's lovely here. She's younger here. And here she's with a corset on.
Oh, yes. Okay.
And that's his father and mother.
That's why she's not smiling in this picture. Got that corset on.
She's very uncomfortable looking. Look at
I
her
can
face.
imagine.
She's
Oh,
suffering.
it had to be. It had to be.
And
And this is the mausoleum up that.
No, these
so
are
these are the
his,
stones.
His mother and father's gravesite.
Oh, his mother and
He was born
father.
in Juneau, Wisconsin.
And so he brought their bodies here.
No, they were also buried in Juneau, Wisconsin.
Okay, this is from Ohio.
That's right.
And,
One is
I'm
old-
sorry, they are
right.
there.
Mhm.
Okay. And this is the original minor monument for WH, erected 1873. That's for his father. All right. This is Mr. Minor, the picture as we know him better. It's very similar to his picture we saw in the hallway when we were last segment.
And there she's with her doll, but she didn't have shoes on. Look at her. She must be about 4 or 5 years old on there. Is she lovely?
Yeah, up here, yes. So
Yes.
we'll just take a short break here. There's someone waiting to see Mrs. Czarnetsky.
Okay, fine.
Well, we're downstairs now. We just came back, and if you think we went and changed our clothes, we didn't. This is completely different time that you're watching. We're here in the middle of December, and the rooms are decorated for the holiday season, and Mrs. Czarnetsky is glad to be back with you again. A couple of things I want to point out. Number one is I've got a real bad cold. I'm breathing heavily, so if you hear some breathing in the background, please forgive me. And Mrs. Czarnetsky is her day off on Monday, but we're here, and we won't be interrupted today, and she's going to give us a good in-depth tour. And if you see something that's a duplication, then don't let it bother you. We've just left, we did the room upstairs that you called.
Mr. Minor's memento room. I end my tour with that room. I finished
Okay,
the whole
but-
tour, and I tell people that was his memento because everything in there belonged to him.
Okay, and we started it there, and we're about a month and a half since that time, I think. But you're seeing it one right after the other. Now, we have on the door your decorations.
That's correct. This room is sort of Victorian era.
And what room are we in?
We're in the parlor.
Okay. Now, is there significance to a parlor and a living room? Is that today?
Oh yes, it was in olden days you never had a living room. We had a parlor, and usually in the winters, people that didn't have as much money, they probably closed it. They had a sliding door, and closed it off for the winter. They didn't have heat in there.
Did they use the parlor much?
Oh yes, definitely.
But not with just the family.
Yes, that's correct.
When they had company, is that what the idea
That's
was?
true.
Okay, now you mentioned the doors. We didn't see it here, but we'll see if we go to another. You mentioned it's a Christian door.
Christian door. Homes usually over 100 years old have the Christian interior doors.
All right, and why is that? We'll see it another door because there's a cross
That's correct.
right behind here.
Open Bible on the bottom.
Open Bible on the bottom. Yeah, all right.
This is your Victorian tilt-top table.
Okay, well, can you tell us any more about
Yeah,
that?
and this is your early American. This
Okay.
is also a tilt-top. But when I have tours, I usually I show them these handicrafts. We have petit point, and we have crocheting, and we got tatting on the end, which was very hard to do. Look at how fine that is. Now, this is Victorian, but that's called a repose. It looks like thick silver. That's a reflection from your base.
I see. It comes up through the glass
That's
like yep.
correct. And notice the piano.
All right. Now, was this here when Mrs. Minor?
Oh,
Did
no,
she ever
is-
use this?
No, she never used it. But anyway, in the olden days when they made furniture, they used two woods for contrast. This is rosewood and crotch mahogany. But notice, the man has his name on the front. They were pretty proud what they did.
Made-
Calvin Edwards it was Portland, Oregon that was made.
Uh-huh. All right, the Christmas tree that you have up with we call that
Ribbon.
ribbon, but what kind? What color have I got there? That's
Oh, this is more of almost a burgundy.
burgundy,
Yeah,
all right.
it's lovely.
And you'll notice there's no new fashion lights on it.
No.
The
No,
decoration.
it's all natural. Everything is natural.
Okay. Is this an original painting back here?
That's Rubens. That's correct.
That's
It's very
Reuben?
bad we have Michelangelo and Commodore Perry there, and we have Leonardo da Vinci and Peter Paul Rubens next to this painting.
Another one of the decorations right here. Who did the decorations?
Well, they're women from the Friends of the Library.
Okay, look at those beautiful.
Aren't they? And they're all natural. This is your coxcomb. These are all natural things.
So that was made this year for this year's?
Year. That's correct.
Okay, so it won't be put away for...
wing chair.
All right.
The furniture I had to take out of this room for the Christmas tree. In the olden days when people wore swords, the men would sit down. I have it in the hall. We could probably show that.
Okay.
Okay. And in here we have a break front. That's mahogany and walnut. It was made in 1790. Isn't that lovely?
It sure is. Now,
beautiful.
Why is it called break front? Maybe I asked you that before. Oh, because of it goes back? It's not straight across. All right. And there's 3 individual doors, or 4. There's 2 in the middle and 1 on either side. And what do they usually keep, books and things down below also?
Or china, and the books are all in there.
So it was used in the dining room for dishes too?
No, it was used mostly in the parlor.
In the parlor, but they used to keep their dishes just like you do here?
That's correct. Did you notice how beautiful the windows are decorated? That's lovely.
Yeah, again.
Candles in the window.
And on the fireplace, of course, we were...
Yes, and all the statues you see on the tour are all Staffordshire, and the vases are English. This Aurora, the painting above the mantle, painted on plaster. In Roman theology, she was a goddess of dawn. She would get up every morning and rise and tell the people that when the sun would shine. That's all her up in front.
And that is on plaster. We see some cracks because it's old. You have any idea the age of that?
A couple hundred years old.
Oh, sure. All right.
And then when we turn around, we look in this corner, we have President McKinley's favorite chair, given to the miners by his nephew. He was the 25th president.
That was his chair, favorite chair.
He used it. He was a big man.
I see the dip in it. Does that come right from him?
That's correct.
All right. They haven't done anything to it.
And notice the Italian triptych on the wall here with your Gothic frame.
Now what's the significance of that? Where would that have normally have been? In a parlor?
That's correct. Oh, okay. Yes. Oh, sure. Remember in the olden days they had the pictures of all the children in gold frames in the parlor? Here we have Michelangelo, Commodore Perry, and Raphael.
Okay. Commodore? Michelangelo. I recognize him there. Okay. Commodore Perry.
Raphael.
Okay. And what about this on the table here?
Well, this is lovely. This is
just a second. Wait till Calvin gets on here with his
Japanese ivory fan in the Italian box. But look at this is all inlaid work. All the little pieces of wood. These are your Chinese food dogs. That's a card table. Isn't it lovely?
Sure is.
Beautiful.
Now, there was a trend back in the old 1800s to have tables that would fold up because they didn't have as much room.
That's
okay?
correct.
I assume it was that reason.
But look at the workmanship on the doors and everything. And the people that worked on his house got $1 a day. Bless their hearts.
Yes, they could do that then, yeah.
They didn't have the right tools either. And all the light fixtures in the whole house were purchased in Europe except the library lamp. It came from the old Baptist church in Keysville.
Now, one of the problems in the room like this is electrical outlets.
That's right.
Correct?
You only have one in every room. Nowadays, you have to have one every so many feet of wall.
Yes, and today, of course, it's hard to do the things you want to do in a room because of that. Now, the heating here is underneath each window.
That's correct.
Where you
Isn't
see
that lovely?
the great work.
That's
yes.
The width of your walls, the width of the windowsill.
Right. So the heat comes out the front. It must be an expensive proposition to heat this 3-story house.
That's correct, and it's all concrete, you know.
Yes. Okay, we're going to leave the parlor. Oh, right here. We see a picture. You want to talk about this?
Oh,
yes, let's talk about this.
Here we have a print of
Can I put this
Kingdom.
right up here, maybe?
Yes.
Tell us.
Peaceable Kingdom. It was in a museum for all these years, but about 2 years ago it was taken to the bank and stored in a vault at the bank, and it was sold by Sotheby's October 25th.
In New York.
In New York.
Right, and you have their catalog. I have a whole list. You have their catalog there, right?
Their catalog.
And it made the cover.
And it made the cover of Sotheby's on October 25th.
And it sold for a goodly amount of money, which we're not at liberty to talk about right now. However, the money will go into
the trust.
Trust fund, which runs the Alice T. Minor Foundation operation, because it's only the interest and the income from the trust.
Correct.
You can't spend the money in the trust, but you can spend the income.
That's correct.
And it's going to cost them about $15,000, $20,000 for Calvin and I to be here today, so they need a lot of interest. All right. We've moved directly across the hall. We're on the south side now in the front, and we're here to look at a door.
This is called your Christian door. You have your cross and your open Bible on the bottom.
Open
Most
Bible.
usually over 100 years old have the Christian door. But notice your knobs. It's all solid brass.
Real small.
Aren't
See,
they
much
lovely?
half the size of a normal.
That's right.
And brass all around. And this is the dining room, the formal dining room.
That's correct.
In the house.
This table is called your banquet table. When she purchased this from Zephaniah Platt, and Plattsburgh was named after him. See, you put those two ends on either side. If this room is too small, if you use the whole table.
You put this on the side.
And the other one on the other side. It's your banquet table.
I see. Okay, now, when we were in here, when we first started off in the introduction, we sat here with Mrs. Czarnetsky at this table right here while she told us about her background. She's been here for 17 years. I want to remind you, she was also Citizen of the Year, 1990, for the Northern Tier Chamber of Commerce.
That's correct.
And
it was a wonderful evening.
Well deserved, too.
Yes.
And
We also want the Bible box here.
Go ahead, all right, tell us.
The Bible box dates back to 1705, but they were so conservative. They didn't finish the inside because only the family read the Bible. No one got to see the inside. And the Bible dates back to 1815. It belonged to Isaac Platt.
Another one of the
Platt, that's correct.
Platt.
And here we have Washington Irving with his literary friends at Sunnyside. The Staffordshire Bowls. The upper one is Lafayette at Castle Garden. And the lower one is McDonough's Victory at Lake Champlain.
Would that be what you call flow blue? Is that a flow blue?
No, that's not Flow Blue. That's Staffordshire.
Staffordshire. I wouldn't know you're talking about the same type of thing. Okay. And the ones on either side, are they significant?
One is Philippine, and this is French.
Okay. As you go through here...
Did you notice the chairs? These are solid walnut made in 1760. Aren't they lovely?
Now, Mrs. Czarnetsky could take this tour. We could stay in one room and she could point out, because she knows where everything is in every one of these rooms. And as you look through, as you go through here, you'll see things you didn't see the first time, like those two dishes, say, on the windowsill right there.
Venetian glass. When the sun shines later in the afternoon, it looks just like lace doilies.
So that's why they're there, so that the sun can shine on them.
And this is your Vaseline glass. It's just like Vaseline. This is lovely. This is carved cork. It's a castle in Switzerland. But if you look at it close up, it's three-dimension.
Yes, I can see the depth of that cork that's been carved.
Carved cork. Now this is Flemish. This is lovely. See your spool legs?
Yes.
And in here we have a collection of sandwich glass made in Sandwich, Massachusetts. And then you have your cobalt.
Kind of too bad to have that behind a closed door.
And it's lovely.
Isn't it lovely? It sure is.
It has a silver effect.
You let Calvin get shelf by shelf here. Just look at the beautiful.
Sandwich glass.
Now, what would something like this be used for? With
on the table, little decor.
Okay, decoration. You don't. It's not like the top of a butter or anything like that. All right. I don't know these things, so my questions may seem a little. I noticed this before. I saw these two buttons right here, and I was trying to figure out what that was for until I came over. And you notice this little clock right there. It's a working clock.
That's correct.
And you told me that was painted on.
Tin. It's a Swiss thing, and they're making reproductions of these now. Notice the beautiful workmanship around your fireplace.
And then, of course, you call those tiles of.
That's correct. Your Dutch Bell. It's a Dutch Bell fireplace. You never see two tiles up in like a Dutch Bell fireplace. These are also sandwich glasses, candle holders. Here we have an antique English tea caddy. When they served their tea, they rolled it to the table. They had a place for both of their teas. black and the green, and this was for their blending. They didn't have tea bags in the olden days.
They would blend it in here.
In here, that's correct. Sometimes they'd have herbs or something to
And there's your spoons right here.
That's correct. And these are called coin silver spoons. They didn't want to pay tax on the money. Did you notice the last name? Mr. Miner's father married a clap girl. That's where they came from.
Coin silver.
Coin silver. That's called coin silver. It's a lighter alloy than your sterling. These are Bennington ware. No, that's not Bennington ware. Excuse me. I'm sorry. Copeland creamware.
You have to review this time to time to remember all this stuff in here?
No, I know this. I never forget this.
And you like it?
I love it. I just love it. Now here, look at the workmanship on this door. Your Greek urn, your leaded glass, your H hinges,
Right?
butterfly shelves, your cantonware.
Oh, God, look at this.
Your ginger jar even has the cover. Usually the covers got broken by shipping ginger film.
I would have to say we're not in a normal house of the period.
No, that's true.
This would be people who were very well-to-do,
that's
right?
correct. In other words,
Absolutely.
in olden days, you had two classes of people. You had the very wealthy and the poor. We have three classes now. Don't
Yeah,
you think?
and the ones who are getting hit are the middle class because everything is right.
That's right.
The rich don't pay. The ones who are poor get it from us, and the middle class pay for it all.
This is your Heffel white sideboard, made in 1760, and all this wood is inlaid. And these are sandwich glass pulls on here.
Sandwich glass. All right, what do they mean by sandwich glass? Can you tell
made
me?
in Sandwich, Massachusetts.
All right, it's
Like your
because
Redford glass is
okay,
made in Redford,
all right.
New York. And in here we have a whole drawer of coin silver.
Oh,
This is lovely.
look at that.
Pie crimper is ivory. Musket handled spoon, made in England. Lovely.
For you men out there, in case you don't know what this is for, tell these men what this is for.
This is the pie crimper. In the olden days, the women, the mothers would put a fancy edge on the pie crust. And it's
By running along, and it would be that little design. And this is ivory.
ivory. And most of the young students that come through, the children think it's a pizza cutter because that's their food of
Yeah.
today. Isn't it lovely?
Okay.
Here's Mrs. Miner's grandfather, born in England, Mr. Saunders. And this was George Washington's Pilsner beer glass. It was in a manuscript room since the museum opened, and I just brought it out last January. I looked up the number in the inventory book, and that's what it was.
Have you any idea where they would get a thing like that? I mean,
I don't know, Mrs. Miner's responsible
Yes.
for all these things except the things I mentioned on the tour that were donated the last 7 years.
Right.
Now here we have a knife box. I display spoons because I don't have knives. They usually have two on the buffet, you know.
Now these would be the regular knives you would use.
That's correct.
They're not the cutting knives or
No,
anything
no.
like that, huh? And on the top of here, this.
It's like a little cordial set with a little squirrel on the
Uh-huh.
top. Now this is lovely. These are for your condiments on the table.
Oh,
Your
wait a
cruet
minute.
set.
Let's start that from right over
Yeah.
again. Get that opening here. Okay.
Or you could open it all the way. And what they did in the olden days, they dated things. It would be impossible to find out. This was made around 1850 in England. That's silver plate. It's not solid silver. And this is called your toast rack. They're still used to this day in England. And the lithographs, of course, are George and Martha Washington.
He wants to stay close to his Pilsner glass.
Oh, sure.
That's why, right?
Oh, of course. He watches
over that, of course. But Mrs. Miner's grandfather is watching. He's even closer.
Mr. Saunders.
Saunders. Okay, now.
This is silver luster. This is not solid silver, and you never have to polish this.
Is that a glass underneath
No,
there?
yeah, that's right, but it's just a thin coating of silver.
Uh-huh.
And this is a lovely piece. This is called a Victorian fruit basket, but this is silver on
Wow.
copper. Isn't that lovely?
Oh, gosh.
Beautiful.
Now that you have to clean. Now that's
Oh, yes.
hard to
Oh,
keep
yeah.
up, right?
Everything else has to be
What do
cleaned.
you use to clean silver? Tell these people.
Tarnish shield. It's lovely. Your silver stays longer, a long time. It's made by 3M. I get it at the hardware store here.
We have no stock in 3M or anything like that, but we figure when you see how nice this shines, you should know what keeps it. It is tarnish shield, right?
That's right,
All
tarnish
right. Okay. Was it common to have extra rugs like this on the floor?
No, but usually when you have a Persian rug, they're sort of beautiful.
Okay.
Your Persian rugs are all handmade.
All right, and we know now what is kept in these usually? Was that their linen or thing? Did you keep
sure,
linen?
Of course. But see how the drawers open? How different?
Second here.
Open,
Yeah, well, let's do that one more time to make sure Calvin gets that. You see how? Woodwork, real woodwork.
All this is inlaid, all this wood is.
Yeah.
Sandwich glass pulled. Every day I use
All right.
around.
And this is strictly a decoration,
That's right.
not used for anything else.
These were used for belt pulls in the olden days. Remember, they'd have them in a parlor on a drape,
Okay.
and they'd pull, and a wire would go to the kitchen. That was for your service.
All right.
That's beautiful.
Very much. Okay, we're going to leave the formal dining room. We're at the Alice T. Minor Collection in Chazy, New York, with the curator, Mrs. Lucille Czarnetsky. Okay, we're in the hallway. Calvin, with the camera, Calvin Castine has got his back to the front door. To his left is the dining room we just came out of. To the right, to the right, as his right, to my left there, or I'm pointing over there, is the dining room. A living room, the parlor is over here. We're in the hallway, and this is?
The Regency-style Davenport.
Now,
It's sort of a velvet. It's velvet. It's lovely.
I assume that this had a reason to be here. What was that? To put your arm? What was that
That's
for?
right, for your arm. That's
Okay,
correct.
all right.
And this is your Pembroke table. She purchased this, Isaac Platt gave this to his granddaughter for a wedding gift, and also the tea service that's sitting on the dining room table. He gave that to her for a wedding gift.
Platt. That's again, we're
Platt.
talking to people
That's correct.
in Plattsburgh.
This is your first prayer in Congress.
Okay. These are prints.
That's right.
And then a beautiful decorated above the mirror here.
That's right. That's beautiful.
There's no charge to come to the Alice T. Minor collection. However, there is a box here because it does cost money, and they just said to help maintain the standards and support the educational activities of the Alice T. Minor Colonial Collection, contributions in any amount are welcome. So if you can afford something, you put it in. If you can't, you smile, right? Smile at you.
That's
and
right.
thank Lucille very much. All right, what do we have?
This is for the University of Regents, the certified museum.
Okay, the
Charter.
absolute charter.
That's correct.
In 1937, May 21st, 1937. That's, Mrs. Minor was still living until the early 50s.
50. She died in 1950.
1950.
And we have a silhouette of Benjamin Franklin.
Okay, well, I guess we're putting her into the Benjamin Franklin corner here because I've seen other things. This is Benjamin Franklin, as she says, a silhouette. And over behind here, he's surrounded by ladies.
That's correct. That's the part he played making United States a nation. You're crowning him with laurel leaves.
Franklin at the court of France in 1778.
And it's Marie Antoinette and Louis XVI seated there. Did you notice their gowns? Weren't they lovely?
I sure were. How long did it take them to get ready?
That's right. Well, they had servants in those days, the
Yes.
wealthy people.
The men was pretty near as ornate as the women were in their
They
dress.
certainly were. And even their hair was
Yes.
sort of feminine.
Oh, that was their real hair. That wasn't a wig.
No, some of them did have the wigs, so. And this is your Hitchcock settee. The chairs are still made to this day in Hitchcockville, Connecticut. They only made a few settees. You probably have never seen one before.
That's all stenciled.
That's correct. And
No.
your rush seat.
Is that an original as far as you know, the seat?
Oh, yes,
The seat is still
definitely.
original?
Oh, sure.
What do they call this as a name for this type of a top? Are you familiar with it?
I guess it is, huh?
I don't
know.
recall
I'm
what
not-
it's called. I've seen them on the chairs. They have a name for it on the chair.
stenciling is done beautifully.
Look at how thin this arm is here. It's probably smaller in diameter than my thumb if you look. And it comes right out.
But don't forget
Workmanship.
The workmanship was unbelievable. But they were smaller people in those days. They weren't as tall as we are today.
Well, when we look at you and I, at least one of us is nice and small and trim. Look at this. Look at
Yes.
this lady right here that's at least 1 year older than me. She's been here. Calvin said it earlier. You've been here 17 years. Came when you were between 30 and 31.
That's correct.
That's correct. You like that?
I love it. I just love it.
All
And here
right.
we have your banjo clock. That's lovely, too.
Now this opened.
That's correct.
There, I guess, was your pendulum that swung.
That's right.
And this is glass. This is the glass.
That's painted.
That's the reverse painting.
That's called a reverse painting. That's correct.
Reverse painting we have on that. And again, though, as she mentioned to us, look at the woodwork here.
Unbelievable.
Again, you got this ledge on the woodwork and around the this is something that they've been here since you opened up. All right. Well, look, one more thing over here. We see an empty space here with a card. Oh yes. My gosh, talk about our chair. Tell us about this
here
chair.
We have your corner chair. In olden days, when men wore swords, so they could sit down, they would sit on the chair. We have McDonough sitting on a chair right around the back here.
And they straddle the
right.
corner rather than sat
like
the other way. Yeah.
Sat down like that.
They had a place for their sword, which was usually carried on their right side. So it was opened over there.
You were mentioning,
Now, I was mentioning over here because there's an open space, and I see a thing, and there's something here.
yeah, it's being restored in Salem, Massachusetts. It was deteriorating.
A sampler, American sampler.
Done by Anna Weaver. It was done in 1838 by candlelight. It is the most beautiful thing in the whole museum. It's lovely. I had a light above it.
Right. Now, what do they do to redo it?
Well, they restore it. In the back, it's all sealed, so no dust or anything can get in it. I've had 3 done in the weaving room. You will see those.
Okay. Now, back in here, what are we talking about here?
That's done by Tennyson there. It's handwriting, too, by Tennyson.
I have the honor to be, sir, your obedient servant, Tennyson.
That's right.
And some more.
That's your table screen. In the olden days, if you had something on the table you wanted to obscure, you just set that up. But look at the petty point in there. And these are your Roman oil lamps. They're lovely.
See, some of these things, I have never seen before, obviously. I mean, I've seen them here, but I don't notice them. I certainly have looked around, but we're seeing an in-depth tour, and I want to tell you that if you have not been here to Chazy yourself, you're missing an opportunity. Number one reason to come is to meet Mrs. Czarnetsky face to face, because here's a lady who likes what she's doing, and she loves work. That's why we came on her day off.
That's correct. And here we have a letter written by William Penn in 1697. Deploring slavery in the manufacture of rum. That's what the letter's all about.
Is this the translation
That's
here?
right.
So you can read it. The writing was beautiful.
Well, yeah, but it's hard to read.
Yes.
We didn't have Palmer method in those days.
I guess I never had Palmer method either, because they can't read mine either. You did, huh?
Yes.
All right, we going into the kitchen. The kitchen, we call it. And if we start right off with this rug, I think it's the thing that strikes you the most in this room.
It's the largest braided rug in the United States. It was made by the Grobrians and Dannemora in their barn. They didn't have a room large enough. It's 24 by 22, and it was donated by the LeBounty family, Albert and Helen.
It's imposing when you come in here. You're struck by this gorgeous and large rug. It's beautiful.
The lamps are called your spiderweb lamps. They were converted from candlelight.
These spider web, that's because of the design in the back.
Spider back,
right?
Yes. But look at this cabinet, made in 1750. This is pine wood. We have the most beautiful bottle collection in here. We have the Virgin Mary of Guadalupe. We have your log cabin bottle. We have Moses and Beecher. And these bottles were used in barbershops for bay rum.
Is the light going to go on in there?
It's supposed to.
You turned something? We picked up our own light. Go ahead, Mrs. Czarnetsky.
Here we have with this bottle collection. Here we have the Virgin Mary of Guadalupe. We have your log cabin bottle, and we have Moses and Beecher on a bottle.
What was in this type of bottle?
All different things. Your maple was in there, and here's this. This was when you went for your water, the Virgin Mary of Guadalupe. They still go there for their holy water, but I imagine they get plastic bottles this day.
Yeah, probably do.
And these were used in barbershops for bay rum in the olden days.
Okay, just hold that a bit until he gets down in here. Okay, yeah. Again, I think when you got company, you leave those open probably. Do you? No?
No, I open them every time.
Open them every time, huh?
Beautifully, here's your H hinge again. That's
Yes.
pine wood.
Now, everything, I noticed numbers on my.
Everything is cataloged here. It's all on the computer now.
Okay, so you could tell where you got this, what you paid for
And
it,
the year it was made. That's what.
and the
the
year
nice
it's made,
part
the
of it.
whole deal. It would be for each item. Now, this is a very unusual looking
This is
chair.
your Windsor comb back rocker.
Comb back because it looks like
Isn't
a
that-
comb.
doesn't
Yes.
it gorgeous? It's just your Windsor.
Now, this would be for a kitchen type chair.
Oh yes.
Look at again. Look at the smallness. I guess you did
Smallness,
petite,
that's right.
petite.
Very
The arms very strong, but very well made. Again, over there.
When you turn around, look at all the pewter on the table. And this table and chairs were made. They were made in 1700s. It's pine wood. But see how small the chairs are.
Again, there's very very light, and the pieces of wood come right up through the back here. We know on I guess we'd call that just the curved
Back.
outline. I guess back and right. Now there's the.
Look at the bone-handled knives and forks. This is interesting. But they ate off of their knives in the olden days. They only had 2 times.
2 instead of 3. Yes.
That's correct.
So you couldn't eat your soup with one of those here.
Look at all the pewter on the table. And pewter's coming back right now. It's very popular.
It's a typical table that you would find
That's
back
correct.
in that
And
time.
here we have a horn cup, horn of an elk. See, they didn't have stores. They had to make everything. But notice how they did the bottom.
Yep.
Beautiful. Then there's your tavern table, and in front of the tavern table are 2 Dutch milk cans.
All right.
These are lovely.
This is your tavern table. Did this lift it up?
That's right.
I take it, right?
Yeah.
That would lift up. And these are very, very unusual.
Dutch milk cans. In Holland, when they deliver milk, they have a small wagon with a St. Bernard dog, and they never carried these cans. They just poured out of these cans. But the cover was your measure that held a pint.
So you'd empty into here.
That's right. And then that's right. They
That's
just
all
poured.
brass. Beautiful here. Beautiful. And then the candle holder. I guess this
That's
is.
your rush light. It's called a rush light. Rush. R-U-S-H.
Okay. These people are here only seasonal. They're here for a visit. Right. They're leaving just after. All right.
Okay.
And I really told you don't get us any gifts. We wouldn't be here that long. But I see you have bought us some gifts.
Oh, yes.
That was very nice of you.
Look at this
Yes.
decoration. This is your milk pod weeds. Isn't that beautiful?
A milk pod, and then they've split it in half, or they opened it up, and then they've put
Ribbon.
little thing
And the
inside.
gingerbread cookies.
Again, these were made by the ladies of the
Friends of the Library.
Friends of the Library. Look at the particular high back on this chair.
It's your
It
Boston rocker.
and it's very very low, and look at how and again, very very petite. Okay, of course, another centerpiece in any kitchen, obviously, if you had one like this, which you
Look
probably
at your Dutch oven. Isn't it
look at
lovely?
this, yes.
And this little doll's usually in the miniature room, but she comes down every Christmas. She likes to sit by the Christmas tree.
Uh-huh.
Her name is Rebecca,
And any idea on the age of that?
about 150 years old.
All right, you're back into the 1840s. Now, I never can remember the name of, that is not the one I see in the drugstore. What do you call that?
Corn. The corn.
And it grinds the corn with that, huh? Down in here, this is the thing that you would have in your hand. And then it goes down in here, and they would grind the corn, and it's on its own pedestal.
That's correct.
You keep going around, huh?
your Dutch oven, that's where you bake your bread.
Right, now to bake bread, tell us how they would get that heated up.
Well, first of all, you put the fire down below there, but they didn't have thermometers. How did they know when to put the bread in there? The woman would put her elbow in there. She would.
Okay, we just changed the battery, and we're now talking in the wood was on the bottom, and the fire was started on the bottom, and then the bricks would heat up, right?
That's correct.
Then you'd
they
push.
put the bread in there or whatever.
Now they had these big. You may have seen these big wooden pallets that would slide it in and out, right? Because you don't stick your arm in there. That goes back about 4 feet. Okay. What else do we have along here?
Oh, this is your bed warmer.
Oh yeah, that isn't here all the time. You put what inside? The coal?
Coal, or they also they use different things. These soapstone they use a lot.
Can I open this here and show?
Yeah, they use soapstone a lot too. They heat it up in the oven, and they didn't have central heat in the homes. They would warm the beds before they retired at night.
And you see, a lot of the ladies' husbands got old very, very, very young, and they needed a thing like this to heat up in the bedroom. That's correct. And they had the soapstone that was in wrapped up with a piece of material, wool, and that was also put into the beds.
That's correct. And here we have all your cooking materials, equipment. In olden days, in the Revolutionary days, they didn't have stoves. They had to cook in the fireplace. We have your toaster. And it was, say if the fire was too hot on one side, they could take the poker, and they could turn it.
Turn it around, and they would put that in front here.
That's correct, and that's your pancake grill.
Way in the back on the right.
For your meat.
Okay, and then remember this was, I don't know what they call it, but that goes out over the top.
That's correct.
That's for your water, and that was big fire kept in here, and it helped to heat the house. It was the heat in the house, right?
That's all they had.
That's all they had, it's right. Now, they had more than one fireplace.
Now, these pieces were used in barber shops for hot water. Dates back to the early 18th century.
Okay, so this would heat up, the water was in here, then the little spigot would let the water out. This another type of the same?
No, that was for beer.
Okay.
Here we have I love to point this out. This is called your Russian friendship cup. It has 3 handles.
You all grab it together at the same time, and nobody can drink. Of course, this was very important, too, the musket right here, over the fireplace.
And then we have the muskets over there were used in the Battle of Plattsburgh. We will point those
okay.
out when we get there, okay?
And now there's your
kettles, your copper kettles.
Look at those.
They're beautiful.
Look at this.
Isn't that lovely?
Now, what is that little?
It was for roasting they used to roast their, that's your corn, they roasted corn.
Okay,
Yeah,
corn, in that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, lift it up.
Okay. Right there. And here's a
They
can.
also roasted their coffee. They'd love to roast their coffee.
Here's a little cattle hole stand because you needed it for light. Remember, you didn't have any overhead lights. Now, this was a spinning wheel or
That's correct. It's first was a spinning wheel, but we'll be going to the weaving room shortly. I have all the equipment in there for your ribbon and everything else.
Okay.
This is your.
Put your cream inside. Then you would. Then you had to plunge up and down, right?
That's right.
And the more you worked, how long? Do you have any idea how long it would take to become butter?
About a half hour, I think.
Half an hour.
This is your butter to make it fancy.
Yeah. Once you made up your cut your butter out, then you could just print this on top, and you had a print. Make it look nicer.
Here's your pilgrim cradle with your wooden doll. They didn't have much to work with in old days. They didn't have the plastic and synthetics that we have today.
No. Now here's the old.
Cradle. That's your Victorian, and in other books, your early American.
Oh, there goes. He's going to need Excedrin or something now.
Now here we have 2 muskets that were used in the Battle of Plattsburgh. But notice the length of them, even with your bayonets
you have
on
to
the end.
carry
They
those.
were short people,
This
they
was
don't-
the ram that you used to use to push the ball down.
That's right, and they had to carry those all day, plus their equipment. They didn't have jeeps in the
Yes, this was your
1812.
powder,
Powder, a lot of powder horns.
and then the various
And
bayonets.
here we have your shot dispenser with your bullet mold sitting on top. See all the different sizes of shots?
Right.
They had to make everything. They didn't go to the store and buy everything. And we have a German, English, and French helmet. Your cannonballs here were found on the Lakeshore Road on the Menard farm.
Now look at the different size. Now those were from your cannon on the various ships that were out there, and there's an example of a little bit bigger than a baseball, halfway between a softball and a baseball. Very heavy too, by the way. And when that came crashing through, it didn't blow up or explode or anything like that. It had to hit you or hit something. It would come crashing down.
Look at the water canteen. What's the date on it?
There's a Lexington 1775, a water canteen that they carried around their neck.
And as soon as they would put water in there, the wood would expand. They would never leak. And here we have one, a canteen. It has canvas on the outside. It was to keep the water cooler in the summer.
Right, by evaporation, it kept it. What was left was cold. Mm-hmm. Here's a smaller cannonball, about 2 inches in diameter. Up here, there's a cowbell or that type, and let's see. Here's your your mess kit. That was your plate and your knife and forks on the inside. This was
That was from Mrs. Miner's horse. That was from the horse.
that would go underneath the under the neck.
Neck,
All right, and what else we see? The little chairs. This was a child's chair.
child's chair. That's correct. And these are your rabbit ears chairs.
Rabbit ears. That's what we wanted to say out there. You know what I?
See, that's everything that includes stuff.
That goes on the end of this, huh? Okay, now that's rabbit ears. That's what I meant to say when we saw that big four poster in there. Okay, this is a pistol of the period. And this is that sword, and that corner chair, so you can sit down with that sword on the side. Okay, before we go in your other room, I noticed over here some couple of things. Number one, these various various kinds of lights that you have here.
Now this was the miner lamp. When they went in the mines, they carried this to work in the mines.
That would run on oil or
Yes, yes,
Okay.
definitely. And then you have your little Betty lamp, your whale oil lamp. This is your whale oil lamp.
Okay.
And this is your Paul Revere lamp. They're making reproductions of this now. But notice the way they have the holes. Otherwise, if they have them the other direction, the candle would go out. See how they have
Yes,
it?
you see now there's your candle inside and the door would close. And I noticed one more thing as we're looking around here changing batteries, and that's this little, you said there was a...
It was a doorbell. There was wire going to the side entrance, and someone broke it off out there.
So you'd
pull on
you'd
there
pull
and
on
the
that,
wire-
and it would move this.
It would ring. Isn't that lovely?
Isn't that just enough to tell you? Look at the spring.
That's right.
And you say, stop ringing the bell, Harold, but it keeps going until it decides to stop. There. And there's a spring here that keeps the tension on it.
Clever because they didn't have books of
Yes,
instructions.
you didn't have any books of instruction, right? Now here you have open beams.
Well, this area was done by Mr. Miner from 1919 to 1924. The whole back part and my part
Was added.
to the building. And he, of course, we said he bought it from Ebenezer Scott. He was a merchant in his village.
Okay.
Okay.
Closet. And then we go into what would be, what did they do with it before? Was it made for this purpose?
Oh, yes. In the olden days, the wealthier people had a whole room to do their handicrafts. The poor people did it up in the attic, they tell me. But the loom was made in 1700. Came out of a home in West Chazy. The Oliver Culver home, whoever they were. Here we have a bag carried by Mr. Miner's uncle in a gold rust. They were called carpet bags.
Because they were made by what?
By way of a piece of carpet in the gold rush days.
Of course, after the war, they referred to the carpetbaggers who came to the south, I guess, from the north, to take advantage of the war. We've seen these before when we were through here looking at the new items, but there's some of the a sampler.
Done by the young children.
Right.
They didn't have schools. The mothers taught them their ABCs and numbers that way.
Have these been to be, they're going to be, they just been, oh, there you go. See, they've just been finished, as she told us, in Rhode Island.
Salem, Massachusetts.
Salem, Massachusetts. That's where the other one is gone that we were talking about.
What's the date on there?
1797. Done by
a little girl, 9 years old, and she ends a little story about, she says, I want to let you know what care my mama took of me. I think that's beautiful.
Yes. Mama took of me, and then of course you have all the alphabet and the numbers and so. That's how they learned their numbers.
They didn't have schools. Bless their hearts. And we have the Lord's Prayer here too. But first of all, I think we should look at the
Definitely.
Hermitage. This came out of the Hermitage.
And what?
Andrew Jackson's home. It's called a sugar loaf cutter. In olden days, your sugar wasn't granulated. It came in big lumps, and they would just cut off as much as they needed. Sugar loaf cutter.
Okay.
So your nutcracker, but this is a lemon squeezer. But did you notice everything is made out of wood?
Yes, so that you'd put your lemon in here. It was squeezed down, and there's holes on the bottom where the lemon would come down over your container. This is the nutcracker she was talking about.
Your ice skates, Dutch.
Strapped to the bottom of your shoes.
It has a strap here also, so they wouldn't.
Yes, they had a couple little points right there.
This is your hand sewing machine, which came before the treadle. The treadle came later, but you only had one hand to direct your material.
You had to turn the other.
That's correct. And this was for a barbershop sign. But in the
Oh,
olden days,
okay.
they had straight razors. Your nutmeg grater, your food chopper, this,
Okay, just a minute. Now he can't follow us there with this. This was,
nutmeg grater.
okay, you put your nutmeg
And there-
underneath here, then push down, and it would go against the thing as you turned it, it would grate it. They've little nail holes on the top with the kind of where you know where they come out to make a little rough edge, and that's what grated your nutmeg.
Your food chopper, that hasn't changed much. This knife is interesting. It has serrated edge on one end and a carving knife on the other side.
Serrated that side, and here's your regular knife.
Your shoe last,
Now this says on here,
flat.
yep, IC plat to AC plat. And
Your shoe
Work-
last when they made shoes.
right there's your other skate to go on your other foot, because it's hard to skate with only one.
This is lovely. This was a milk strainer.
Okay, now
You see that as well?
this is a brass screen in here, and then they probably also wrapped a piece of cloth around, either inside or out, and then you change that.
That's also from
Manufactured by Mosley and Stoddard, Pulteney, Vermont, January 2nd, 1877, 1878. Nice old piece, attractive.
Here we have the Lord's Prayer.
A large prayer on the sampler.
This has been restored. These will never deteriorate now. They're all airtight.
Okay, that's to keep the dust and the air out of the back. Okay, and then the
Did you see the year on this?
1736.
But some of these children are only 7 years old that did these samplers. Here we have one done by a 7-year-old.
This is the 7-year-old that did this, and this was the 22nd of May, 18. I'm not sure. 18. It looks like 1818.
Yeah.
18.
Here we have your clothes sponges. This was their washing machine in the olden days. They had a wooden tub. This is how they would launder clothes.
By going up and down, we do that. And you might want to just hold this a second for me, and you can see here is what we're talking about.
It's a plunger effect, and your machines today are the plunger effect.
Yep, and it just makes the agitation in there. A nice old piece. Nice old piece. Never saw one like that.
Now this was used, your foot warmer. They also used them when they went to church. They had them in the buggies.
Put them in your buggy. You put your coals or your charcoal, whatever you had, in here. And then close this. And it would get... Well, we noticed that today coming up, didn't we, Calvin? The fan's not working with your heater.
Candle holes.
Okay.
Candles.
You would pour your liquid wax in here.
That's right. You have big
And then you
12
put a
and
wick.
That's right. You have 12 candles.
And you had to make those. That's what you used. I don't know. You probably could buy those in a store, but people didn't want. If you didn't want to, right?
Oh,
You didn't have to. No. There's a nice old rocker.
And this was for your yarn. When
It made it into a skein, right?
That's right. That's right. That's your flax spinning wheel.
Okay. So one's a flax wheel or a spinning wheel, or is there a flax spinning wheel and a wool spinning wheel? Is that the idea?
Oh yes.
Okay. So this is one, and if you'll notice, this is all wood. As that turns, there's a gear here also
That's right.
that moves the whole thing right around.
And here we have grain measures. These are lovely. They're from the quart way to the half bushel. They were donated by people from Port Kent.
Made by Ed Rye, Wilton, New Hampshire. Now there you got different sizes.
That's right. This is your
Yep.
starts out.
And I guess it was a level measure. That's the way you got your grade. Nice set. Nice.
Beautiful. These are good.
That,
These are-
that Bennington?
No, that's
No,
not finished.
Okay.
No.
Now here we've got some hand split shingle with hand wrought nail taken from the Robinson Richardson House, Ridge Road in Chazy, New York. There's your. We were talking about these when we were doing McQuinney last week. You saw last night on TV. This is Monday, the 16th, and they used the fro, and they would use the wood, and they'd hit it with a mallet, and they would come up with a shingle like this, a hand split shingle. And here's another roof covering material, original, like a white birch.
That's correct.
Taken from the Robbins Richardson's house on the Ridge Road in Chazy, New York.
Here we have a treadle furniture that's quite different. It's a Howe machine, and he invented it.
Okay, now, this belongs on top of there too?
Yeah, that's correct.
Right, and this is where you most people will know you used your feet, and this would drive the machine. You notice there's nothing here. Today there's all these works and all of the mechanism. Today just a little tiny thing in here that makes the needle go up and down.
And this is a Howe machine. Elias Howe invented the treadle sewing machine.
All right, and
Here we have also a sampler done by Fisk. There was a lot of Fisk in this area.
Elizabeth Fisk, yes, in 1922.
This one was restored too.
This was restored. That's like a picture. Both of those are pictures.
We'll never be careful.
Yep, isn't that nice?
$1,000.
How much? To restore them?
That's right, but they're worth probably $2,000 more now. It's a good.
Do they clean the material? It's like that?
Yes.
Oh, they
definitely.
clean the material.
Yes.
They do $1,000 a piece. Well, it kind of surprised me. Now, while we're right here, if I can swing by Calvin here, we saw the little flax wheel. And here's a different type of a yarn winder, right? This is horizontal rather than the other. This is a flax wheel that would turn this way, and you'd wrap. It's not a flax wheel, excuse me. A winder, and you'd wind your material around on here. I don't know how you got it off. Well, I guess you pull these spindles out, and it would slip right off.
And on the wall there we have for carding wool. There's a lot of people around here raising sheep now. I showed it to the school show. This was for carding your wool here. This was for your spools.
Okay.
See where the wool comes off a sheep, it's in a round ball. You have to stretch it apart, and that's what they use.
And you'd comb it, kind of like, and it would pull, and then it would kind of stretch, get it in the strands going in the same direction.
This is also used for carding wool.
There's a big one. That would be kind of heavy. Now these were for what? You said this is where you'd put.
Your spools are yarn.
Okay, for your different. Now this was.
It's called a swift wheel. It pull it apart. It's also for your yarn.
Okay, all to do with your.
And this is also beautiful. They're doing this work now. All you need is a piece of paper and a needle, and it's done. It's scatter smile. It's done from the reverse.
Like picking
Scatter
up.
smile.
Scatter
smile.
Okay, now this is a loom. An antiquated loom. Look at this great big wooden spindle here, and it's been cut out, and you've got right in here, you can see where they've got the part that you turn on. They've just turned this down, much like we saw if you saw Mel McQuinney. That would be your tenon, so to speak. You've cut this down. And look at over here for the brake. If I can go back in front of you here, Calvin, please. Just apparently, this is the brake right here. And as you turn this stops it from going back. And this edge there, that's just the branch off a tree. A branch that they've used. And this is all pegged. There's no nails in this. This is put together. And this is a tenon. This is a tenon, mortise and tenon right here. We talked about. The part you see sticking out is the tenon, and the hole that it fits into is the mortise. And we saw, Mel showed us how that was made and how he had those two handles that you set on top of this wood. And you drill 2 or 3 holes, then you square it up, and then you saw this. And that's an example right there. And here's another one inside of here with a peg to hold it in place. Glad to see that so soon after we talked to them.
This is called your corn cradle. You know, that was used by Mr. Miner's cousin, Lot Miner.
Right. You would cut your.
Yes, you'd hold it.
You'd cut and it would cut it and then hold it, and then you could scoop it off to the side, make a row out of it. It made a windrow. Now this was used for cutting wheat, hay, and so forth. Grain. Okay, what do we have here? A table?
Apple core bench, it's called, but you can make it into a table or a bench. Then you have your storage in the 16.
Isn't that clever? It's called an
Apple core bench.
Corner bench. Yeah. Now this is your bench when you're using it. When you want a table, just pull it right down. You got your table. You finish using it. You put it back. It's not in your way, and you got a storage underneath. Nice old piece. Again, mortise and tenon right here, and with pegs, and then a nice old clock that's been stenciled.
It should be a mantle clock, but I don't know why they hung it. It's beautiful. It's got your reverse painting in there, too.
That's all right. Temperance banner. Love, purity, and fidelity. We saw this before, but we'll just go over very quickly again. We'll be on. We did it when we first came with things that are new.
This is called your wool stump work.
We didn't see this. Okay.
That's beautiful. It's a handicraft. It's called wool stump work.
Wow, look at that.
Yes.
And there's a picture, collection of George Morland. This is a stenciled chair. Another rocking cradle, either a swinging cradle.
Just held up with leather straps. Did you notice that?
Yes, I thought they were metal, but those are leather. This is leather right here. But it did the job. It did the job. And if something broke, you can replace it quickly.
And this is your... They didn't have linen closets. This is your linen chest.
Okay,
We have beautiful things in here. I have a Japanese runner in there. Look at the work entailed. The gold, it was hard to work with this gold thread. Be sharp. The women's fingers would bleed. This is a piano cover. Look, isn't it lovely?
They used the time, didn't they? Time.
Sure.
Took them months.
But what's lovely about these are the winter and summer pattern. The summer they reversed it to the white side.
Right, and then the darker side. Yep, that was 1841.
Like this, see?
Yep, the drawers came out. And that's a linen chest.
And here we have a table. Here we have a bedspread made by a little girl in Chazy. She was 9 years old when she's made this out of store string. It's your popcorn design. It took her 4 years. She was 13 years old when she finished it. She lived to be 87 years old.
Very nice.
Lovely.
Very, very nice.
Lovely piece of furniture.
Yep. Now, this type of furniture would usually be in what room?
Well,
It would be in the weaving room too. Sure. Keep it. Now, this is another. This is art again, right?
That's another. This is
1842.
Now, this is lovely. Done in 1802. This is a birthday to Papa. That is lovely. See, 1842.
Yep. Obviously, they called the grandfathers Papa back then, I guess.
The mothers, they were Mama.
Yep.
And Papa. They didn't have Mother and Dad these days.
That was their mother and father they were calling that.
That's
Today,
right. That's right.
grandfathers, they call me Papa,
Oh,
you know. But
yeah.
at that time, it was the mother and father.
Yes.
Here's another,
Except for done by a girl.
Hannah Paulette, age 14. If you say they didn't have TV to watch, they didn't have an awful lot of books
plenty
to
of
read,
time.
so they did something that, here we're talking 170 years later, it's still here.
That's right. This is nice.
Now this is another shot of the kitchen. You can see where we're just on the north side of the kitchen. Beautiful, beautiful. But I think you told us we better rephrase this again here. You keep this building up yourself.
That's correct.
Mostly. You get a lady in once in a while?
One day a week she comes. 7 hours lately she's been on Wednesday.
Mainly to see what you've done, because I don't see where you keep it. There's not much for her to do.
Yeah, there's always dust and kiln lights every day.
But this lady keeps this Alice T. Minor Museum. Lucille Czarnetsky here keeps it like it is, inside and out, right?
That's
What did someone tell you when you went to a play yesterday?
I went to a concert yesterday, and a man came up to me. He said, "I bet you feel bad now because there's no grass to cut."
Well, talking about that, I saw you, of course, when you got your award in the Knights of Columbus and Champlain, and Mr. Randy talked about you're cutting the grass and the cow and all that story. And we lost him 2-3 months ago,
Yes,
and
we did.
I understand there's been a replacement. Someone told me they saw in the North Country there's now a new man coming here.
His name is Dr. Sniffen. He's from Michigan University, Michigan State.
And he'll be...
He'll be head of the Minor Institute like Dr. Randy was.
Okay, now in that capacity, is he also head of the museum here? Or the collection?
No, really not. But no, he's not.
Not directly. He's not your boss, so to
no,
speak.
he's not my boss. Dr. Burke is my boss.
And that he's part of the Alice T.
Unless they
Minor.
make him a trustee from this
Okay.
place. I don't know what they'll do with him.
Okay.
If they do, then he'll be my boss too.
Okay. So he's coming, and he has a family. Does he have a family? Do you know?
I don't know.
Don't know. But he'll be coming
I
in
did
soon,
meet him,
and
though. He's a
we'll.
very wonderful
You met him.
person.
Huh? Okay. We'll have a new person in Chazy. You're at the Alice T. Minor Collection. I guess I've said that several times. I'm Bob Venn. The program is What's Going On Here. We've been here a month and a half ago when you first started this program. You saw us when we were here before. We were dressed differently. We're back today to finish up, and we just finished up most of the first floor. We're going to go up to the second floor now, and particularly we aren't going to forget to tell you about the 4-inch risers, right?
They're lovely, but don't forget they wore long dresses in the olden days. They were a lot more comfortable in a deep step.
Okay. Did many of the people of this kind of a house in the old days spend much time in the kitchen?
Oh yes, definitely.
They did?
There was a main room in
Yeah,
the
but
kitchen.
she didn't do the work, did
Oh,
she?
no.
So that she.
No.
Right, but they would
But
eat
don't
in here
forget they
sometime.
had large families,
Yes.
in the days too. The mothers didn't do so much. The children helped. But Mrs. Minor never used this as a kitchen.
No. Okay.
They had their home on the farm. It was called the Heart's Delight Cottage.
Right. That's all been taken down now,
That's
right?
correct.
It didn't burn, right? They took it down, right? As I understand. Okay. We'll be right back. We particularly want to point out, Mrs. Czarnetsky, about these stairways, the stairs. Go ahead, tell us
They're
now.
the 4-inch risers. They're
That
beautiful.
from here to here is called the riser.
That's correct.
That's
It's
your
a
step.
riser.
This is the riser. 4 inches. The average are probably 7 to 8
They're 8
inches.
inches now.
So they're only half, and they're very, very wide, you'll notice, too, making it much easier to climb the stairs. More steps, but much easier.
So in the olden days, they had long dresses. Must have been lovely. You almost tripped if you had a long dress
Right.
and you take a big, steep step. And we'll
Okay.
proceed to the second floor, and on the landing, we'll show you some beautiful amethyst vases made in England.
This is pretty near like shifting a bicycle. See, you take more steps or more going around on your bicycle, but it's easier because they aren't very high. You don't really feel the going upstairs when you use them. We're on a landing halfway between the first and second floor, and we're looking at what are
The
those?
amethyst vases were made in England. And
Okay.
here on this wall, we have a Dutch delft tile relief. But look at the work in the frame. It's burned inside stenciling, and they didn't have electric in those days. They had to heat their tool to do that. Think about it.
Now this would be used as a wall hanging
hanger,
all the
that's
time, right? Okay.
Isn't it beautiful?
Yeah, I hope you also notice the thickness of the
Windowsill.
windowsills here. You know, you're nearly 2 feet thick. You're at least 2 feet thick. There's shutters on the outside that could close. Probably did in certain times. But that's a real wide because of the thickness of the stone for this. Again, there's another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 stairs to go up only halfway here, rising about 6 feet, making it very easy to climb. As you approach the landing, we're right in the middle of the landing on the second floor, coming up the stairs. The light is
Alabaster.
it's alabaster shade, I guess we call that,
That's
huh?
correct. Uh-huh.
Now that's been here. You
So
had
it's
the
a-
electricity was here when she first bought the house.
That's right.
Okay, and now here we're in. Of course, they're using the hallway up here. This is a
Tiger maple, the dresser.
tiger maple.
All these 4 pieces are tiger maple.
That's because of the striping you see in them, and there is a definite ridge you can feel as you run your hand across this. That is not as it's smooth, but there's a ridge, little ridges. You can feel them. That tiger seems alive.
And this closet was a dumbwaiter in all it is. There's a most beautiful doll collection in there. Photograph on the left is a Russian couple.
Well, first of all, wait a minute now. What do you mean by a dumbwaiter? What was that for?
In the older days, when you wanted to bring something out down from the basement to third floor, you'd have it was like an elevator, but you had to do it manually.
You pulled on a rope like on pulleys, right?
Uh-huh.
Okay. And they've now made it into a little doll collection room.
That's correct. And the photograph on the table is a Russian couple. They made all the Russian dolls in there.
Now, are these all Russian dolls?
No.
All right.
I have some.
Just some. Okay. I'll let you get inside with Calvin here. But then the tapestry on the wall.
And here we have a doll last year from New Zealand. A man came and visited the museum, and he said, "When I go back, I'm going to send you our native Indian doll."
That's on the bottom.
Maury.
Will this slide?
Oh yes, this opens up.
Can you do that? Maybe it'd be easier not to have the reflection in the glass. Okay. Now this is the
Maury, doll of New Zealand. That's their native doll. They're
Okay.
native people, excuse me. And here we have These are hats. These are buttons. They're ladies' hat fashions. They're silver on the back. That's a new addition. We got that donation about 6-7 years ago.
And how would that be used?
For buttons. They're buttons.
Oh, for buttons on like on a coat
That's
or on
right,
a
or dress or anything.
Oh, but with hat fashion pictures
Yeah.
on them.
And these are your dressmaker dolls. In the olden days, they didn't have stores. If you want to have a dress made, they'd show you how it was going to look. These are your fashions of 1918.
And that second,
Mhm.
it's very
Your
difficult. We're very
clown.
close in here, folks, so you
Yeah,
can't.
you can't
But now
see.
these are the Russian across here. Okay, these are the Russian dolls that
Mobility.
the picture we saw that that couple we saw the picture
Oh, this
made.
is lovely. This is her
Can
that's
I-
his
I'm
girlfriend,
up
and
there
it's
pretty
his
high.
sweetheart. See, and she made this little towel for him. That's her sweetheart.
Okay, just. Well, she's lost her towel.
Yeah. Oh.
So these are all dolls. There's probably 35 to 40 in this, maybe more, but close to 50 in here. And these are some that were made by that couple that you saw in that first picture in this area. And then here's on the next, all right, now you got your, okay. Now what else can you tell us about any of these? Anything in particular?
There's your Indian dolls on the bottom.
Indian on the bottom, okay.
Uh-huh.
And this were the stores.
These are your fashions of 1918, those 4 models.
Down here are the fashions of 1918. It's very difficult in here. We're only about 3 or 4 feet from the collection, and as we will pull this door back, and maybe the other one will open, and we won't get the reflection. Give you an idea of. There we go. There are the various dolls. Look at the intricate work and the everything, all detailed. Here's all the sequins. Yep, all beads on that one there. The hair on this doll here, and look at the Crimea Tartars, bride and bridegroom in their bridal attire. And up here we have the Russian peasant children. A boy never had a hat of his own. If he wears one, it belongs to his older brother or father. The blouses of the men are always made of unbleached, hand-woven linen and must be embroidered. Dolls. Nice collection. And up on top, this is the dancing.
They dance. They go like this. They go back and forth.
They go back and forth, and then there's I guess a Native American. No, yeah, he looks like he's black, and in his dress of the day. You'll notice these shelves, I guess, can be adjustable, and they adjust on this very unusual here, the pegs. Instead of having the kind with the metal, they just adjust onto the various cutouts.
Russian couple that
Yes, let me just get this again. This is the people. These are the people who made these Russian dolls. Piano, that's right underneath its alabaster light here in the...
Calvin Edwards was the maker.
Who was it?
Calvin
Edwards, and it's a forte.
Piano forte.
Piano forte.
And notice how they inlaid the satin wood.
Yep, inlaid in there. And, okay. I would play it, but it's not in tune, so I really can't play it.
This is a new addition. It looks Grecian, but it's wedged with creamware, made in 1760, and this is Shakespeare standing here.
Now, who would have acquired this? Someone give this to the...
Yes, it was donated to the museum.
Donated to the museum, all right.
And here we have a frame. It's made out of wood.
That is wood.
That's correct. They had to put in hot water to bend it.
Look at that carving.
Lovely.
Yes. And then we're
Lovely.
talking about George and Martha.
Again, and over on this wall we have Martha and George courtship. He married her with her 2 children. The children are younger on here than on that photograph.
Did he have children of his own after?
never had
children. So he's not really the father of our country.
No, that's
He's the father, but they should have called him an uncle of our country, because he didn't have his own.
Now this is called your cricket candle stand. That is lovely. That's just like a cricket.
Okay, it looks a little like a cricket. I guess that's why. This is brass.
Black.
Plaques, all right. Again, you'll also notice while we're here that we came up these stairs from down below, we're on the second floor, all carpeted, and then this goes up to the third floor, which we will go up to shortly.
Here we have Abraham Lincoln's walking stick, just made out of leather. See, they didn't have much to work with, and here we have his quill.
Huh. That's his walk. Again, so genteel, so thin.
This is called your low boy. That cricket candle stand is, did he get that? That's lovely. Looks just like a cricket.
It sure does.
And here's this called your low boy with your acorn drops. See that?
Here, yes.
We have a sand duster here.
What does that
In olden
for?
days, you didn't have blotters. They
Put that on top of the.
It dried the ink real.
I
This
didn't.
is Yorktown Surrender, Williamsburg.
Now this is just regular scissors.
Yeah, no, Victorian.
Victorian, but I mean they're
Did you
scissors.
notice they had it in the shield? They didn't have
Yes.
to put them in the drawer. They left them on
Yes.
the outside.
Okay, again we got George Washington's
Yeah,
picture
that's
here.
painted on leather, by the way, and that's the hardest thing to paint on. Look at it. It's very unusual close up. And in the niches here, we have the Lafayette. Madame.
Here, this is Madame Lafayette. Look at the finery there that she's wearing. Look at those clothes.
Real material. Doesn't it?
Sure does.
It's
Look
French
at
fist.
look at that the way they were dressed. And
We
then
have a letter.
Lafayette himself, he looks nearly like her, except he's wearing pants instead of the dress. He's very, very decked out also. Even the eyebrows, I guess, were done.
Here we have a reverse painting, and this whole wall is Lafayette, and this whole wall is Martha and George.
This is one of Lafayette's letters.
And here we also have a letter by George Washington.
Reverse painting means it's been painted on the back of that glass.
Very popular right at the moment. And underneath here we have a Polish ecclesiastic.
Just a second. What did you say? George Washington and Martha, Lady Washington. Do you know what? Let me ask you a trivia question. Do you know what George Washington called Martha?
No, I don't.
By her girlhood name of Emily. There was a question that was in trivia recently, and instead of being Lady, everybody thought it was Lady Washington. She was. That's what the public called her, but he called her Emily. That was her name when she was growing up, and that's what he referred to. And here's one of his letters, original letter, dated September 5th, 1793. It'll be 200 years in a couple more years. Written very well.
And he all started all his letters.
Celebrated the large lake ship. I guess maybe it isn't as good. It disposed to take. A lot of the words are broken up and hyphenated. Here's another letter from Washington, 1798, and
Polish ecclesiastical chest. When the priest went to the home, he carried his chalice in there. Full of pearl and mother of pearl and red velvet. See, this was for his chalice, and the upper one was for his wafers.
did you see that, Calvin? There, all right.
And here we have the Polish eagle. The Polish eagle has two heads. See the two heads by the key?
Very ornate, very, very ornate. And then,
And the curio cabinet is lovely.
okay, now this is also Lafayette and George Washington, Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln, and this was Abraham Lincoln's watch fob.
All in the
The statue block here.
Lafayette here, on the statue in the middle. We're at the Alice T. Minor Collection in Chazy, New York, and if you like it on TV, you really should come here. And you're open when again?
Every day from Tuesdays to Saturdays from 10 to 4.
And
And I
except for the
close
month of
just-
January.
Just the month of January I close.
But
We'll
if-
reopen again February 1st, 1999.
Okay, we know you're busy during the holiday season here, but why don't you plan February or March? Come in and see this nice lady, and you just the way she talks, you can appreciate that she loves this, and it's great to see this firsthand. We're on the second floor in the southwest corner. In other words, as you face the building, we're upstairs on the right-hand corner, which was the miniature room, you said, a children's room?
Correct. Well, these were mostly all salesman samples. In olden days, they didn't have stores or catalogs. You didn't know what a Winthrop desk looked like. They made them in a small scale. And these are harder to make than a full scale. And
So they
would
bring
come
that around?
with a buggy from farmhouse to farmhouse, and they showed their wares.
And they were able to go. They didn't just go to the certain place. They went to the farmhouses.
Farmhouses, they didn't have stores in those days.
And there's a chair sample,
That's
likewise.
right, salesman sample.
Shows you what you're going to
And
get.
this is your wall bracket clock. That's also salesman sample.
There's 3 down there. You'll notice. And this is also a salesman sample.
Yes, and here's your crew set salesman sample. This is a little secretary.
I know they do that with hockey sticks. They have little tiny short ones.
Isn't it lovely?
Yeah, look at that.
These are all salesman
Yeah.
sample. Your punch cup.
Gorgeous.
And this, by the way, this cradle is butternut, the wood in that cradle.
Again, this was a full size for a regular child, but it's in a baby room. But this was you'd rock your baby here, sit here. If you attach it to your rocker, you could sit and rock and do what you want to do it, huh?
Two things at one time.
Yes.
You could peel potatoes and you could stand there.
Yeah, with your foot, yeah.
And on the wall, we have all your old Currier knives, and we have a few just by Currier, which was done a long time before. The one next to the window there is just by Currier.
Okay, now here's, what do we have here while we're going by?
Also salesman sample.
Salesman sample of a full-size tea set.
And this,
It's also a salesman?
this was a little girl's
Well, he's going to get some of the pictures. He's getting some of the pictures to show people. There's our tea set we were just talking about, salesman sample of the real thing. Guess this goes with it. Look, little candle holders. The Bible was also a salesman sample, I guess. All the words are in there. Yep. All small print. Yep. See, there's the little tiny print right in it. All right.
It was a little girl's bed, but the people were smaller in the old days. This had a canopy at one time. Nowadays, a girl couldn't be able to turn around in there.
I guess they couldn't.
In the corner, we had your granddaughter clock made in England.
Granddaughter. Now, we've heard of the grandfather, the grandmother, and that's a granddaughter.
William and Mary desk, and that's your secret compartment. This is also salesman sample. Isn't it
Here's a
lovely?
secret compartment right here. Now, I would assume if there's an awful lot of these around, they stop being secrets later. But it
They're
would,
all the same.
yeah, they were all in the same place. But little drawers, they all open. And a little tiny rocker. That's not a Boston rocker, no. That's
Here's your French enamel too. This is lovely too.
you might want to come around here, Calvin, and look into the window
Yeah,
here.
we could do this.
You might want to, because there's some very small. Now you may want to point these out to us here. There's a little tiny table that's a folding. That would tip back up, I guess, that table, tilt top.
Here's your cornhusk doll.
And the little tiny round table, of oak table, that was so prevalent in the 30s, and then they disappeared in the 50s. Nobody wanted them, and now they're back.
Coming back again. Look at the dates on the kick plate when the shoe was made. November 29th, 1859. They must have enjoyed what they did, but look at the workmanship.
They need kick plates like that on the shoes today. They're always doing something with the front of their shoes. Kick ice and so forth. Look at those cute little things. And a nice little set right here. Look at this. And there's a smaller Bible, and then represented here. These are knives, and you did mention when we were off camera there for a minute, one distinguishing feature. The heads are bigger. They don't go with the bodies very much.
That's right.
That's one of the...
These were too large.
Right, in most cases. And these are all, and of course you can still get Currier knives pictures of the New England scenes and so forth. And this one was by Currier alone, before he joined with Ives. And I'm sure that you've seen calendars from some of the insurance.
Quality. This is a little child's hairbrush. It's inlaid mother of pearl, and it has real pig bristles.
Just a
They
little
have
child.
quality. We have quantity.
Yes.
We have,
And here's a little mirror that goes with it.
right? And a shoe hook.
The little mirror that goes with that set.
This was a little bank. What year that was done? I'll show you the bottom there. 1795.
1795, a little bank. The opening on the top.
Uh-huh. Beautiful.
And that's the type of things you see when you're here at the Alice T. Minor Collection on Main Street in Chazy, right where the triangle is. And when you go out near Dr. Clark's, you head out toward McQuinney's out this direction, or to West Chazy to Ingraham, right? And across the street we have Barbara's Bobby Shop, and we're right next to the school. And it's all right. Now we have a few more things. Another curry and knives, I take it.
That's right. This wood is, there's two woods always they had, crotch mahogany and walnut.
You can just feel the grain in this. That's a nice
plaster
old
dog.
Plaster dog here, and then here's the.
Other little tea set.
This would not be a salesman's sample. This would be a toys, right?
That's
For the.
Right. And these were carved in Germany.
Can I open this?
Yes. Of
Why don't we
course.
do that? You can see it better, maybe.
And
You'll be able to see this much better.
Germany, but look at the features on their face. Everybody says they're gossiping. Look at the close up. They're beautiful.
Well, now I didn't bring that up. Mrs. Czarnetsky did that. You'll notice nobody in there is wearing long pants, so you know who's doing the gossiping over there.
That's right.
Who's doing the gossiping? Women. I didn't say that. She said that. All right. All right. Now there's your nice little baby the dishes, and this is some of the original wallpaper or paper inside because I see it's coming off. Probably been there for 100 years or more.
That's right. And these are all salesman sample. Your carpet chair. They took a little piece of carpet and made a chair.
Okay, that can be replaced. Yes.
Right.
I must make a point that when you come here, you won't be able to touch as many things as I'm touching, no. But you're right up close on all of these things, and you're really missing a bet if you don't come to this collection.
And this quilt on that bed is your tumbling block.
Oh yes, you see, and then you look at them, and they're a different way every time you look at them. Then there's the rope.
Rope bed. We have a rope bed upstairs too. Oh yes, that's all they had. They didn't have springs.
See, there was no spring; it was rope, and then they had a tightener to tighten the rope more.
That's where the song came.
Okay, we're just about to the end of this segment, and you've been watching What's Going On Here. I'm Bob Venn, and of course, Lucille Czarnetsky right here, the curator, and we were indebted to you to show us this much of your...
You don't know how much I enjoyed this.
Do you?
You made my day.
Okay, well, now we're going to continue on, and the next portion you'll see next week when you're watching What's Going On Here on Sunday night. That'll be the 29th of December, I believe, and you'll see the rest of this floor and also the third floor, and some more smiles from...
That's Lucille Czarnetsky. Why,
yeah,
sure.
You've been here for 17 years.
Oh, yes, it doesn't seem possible. I enjoy every minute of them.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for coming.
Don't forget, we're on every night at 1:15 in the afternoon, 4:30, 8 o'clock, midnight, and 8 the following morning with basketball games, town board meetings, and all the other things going on in your area. What's going on here with Calvin and Bob, or Sam sometimes, is on Sundays, those same hours. Thanks very much for watching, and don't forget, if you're not already one, why don't you become a patron? You've heard about it on the program. Just become a patron. Thanks much.